Hey, yo, Terry, fuck's going on? It's critical. We're talking about wrestling games this week, so it's the history of pro wrestling video games. I'm Mongo, joined as always by my co-host Liger Busa. It has been 2 weeks since the last episode that we recorded, and fuck me, man, the last 7 days have been insane. But how are you this week?
I'm not too bad. I had some frustrations this week, but overall it was pretty good.
So I told you to put a pin in this last week. We'll just get it out of the way real quick. I'm on my way to work last Sunday, obviously riding shotgun. And I look in the rearview mirror and there's a white Ford Focus behind us that's like weaving all over the road. Like they're getting ready to pass us. We're on a city street. And he's weaving such that I'm like, if he actually passes us 100%, he's going to clip us. I'm getting a picture of the fucking plates. Because I can already tell, like the way he was driving, I was like, he's going to swipe us and he's just going to keep driving. If I can get a picture of the plates, he's done, right?
Yeah.
Well, we turn, he goes straight, and I'm like, bet, I got you, bud. So I take a picture of the plates, and I'm not even thinking. And we get to the light, and it's green. And the car stops, and the window goes down, and this kid's like yelling at me. He couldn't be any more than 19. And he was like, oh, you fat piece of shit, I'll knock you the fuck out. And I just responded with, no, you won't, shut the fuck up. And then we went our separate ways. But it looked like he turned and went down a city street to kind of loop around and follow, which would have been stupid for three key reasons. One, the car he's looking for would not have been there by like wherever he would have went by the time he got fully turned around. Two, if he would have seen the car, it would have just been my mom in it. And at that point, you're harassing an elderly woman. And it's small town Ohio, that will actually get you in trouble. And then three, say he did fucking turn around quickly enough to catch me before I got into work, then he's got to deal with me. I'm not the toughest guy in the world, but I have learned a lot of things in my life, one of which is if a white boy in a hoodie who barely has facial hair is willing to yell the words, I'll knock you the fuck out, it means one, they can't fight, and two, their version of fighting is I'm going to wing punches and leave my chin completely open. And I've been in enough fights in my life to know, step forward, throw an elbow, congratulations, you've lost. It's that easy. So there's life advice for anybody listening to this. If a white boy gets really aggressive with you, let him wing the punch, step in, throw an elbow, you win. That or just fucking waist lock takedown, and then they're yours because they don't know how to fight. But I was in such a shit fucking mood on Sunday. And then Thursday, I'll say this now. A couple of weeks ago, I had messaged you. No, I didn't. I waited until we recorded the podcast. Before we recorded, I had mentioned that there was a creep that I worked with that had somehow been stalking me on social media for a long time. He was playing the long game and revealed to me that he was basically going to go to management about the fact that I did a podcast, despite the fact that I've never once mentioned where I currently work. I've never mentioned my real name. I've alluded to where I live, but there's a lot of places around where I live that do the same thing the place I work does.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I remember saying to you, like, I don't know if we should still record. Like, we'll record this week, but I don't know if we should fucking continue. Because what if because he literally quoted the fucking social media policy to me. And I was like, you've got to be a real, just like, pathetic son of a bitch to go to this level. And then on top of this, he's saying like really grossly like sexual harassment type shit to people. He also trivialized a kid in my area dying by suicide, which for reasons I'm not going to go into again, but if you're a longtime listener of the show, you know that's not a subject I think needs to be spoken about with levity because it's about as serious as it fucking gets. And, by the way, while he was doing it, he said the words out loud, I just can't imagine knowing somebody who did that. And I immediately went, well, I can. It's not fucking funny. And I walked away. Because if I hadn't, we would have been doing the last several episodes on some weird, like, prison fucking Skype. But Thursday, I get a message. Yeah, you only get so many minutes, so I don't think we could have a whopper while it would be on the inside. On Thursday, I get a text message, as I told you. I was taking a dump and playing God of War 2 on the Steam Deck. I had my phone next to me just in case I needed to pull up the strategy guide because I was on the fight with Zeus, and I hadn't been on that boss fight in about a decade. And a friend of mine that no longer works at my store, but had gotten all of the context about this situation from me yesterday, just messaged me, impeccable timing, dude. They fired him this morning or whatever. He might have said they just fired him. One of the two. And I was in such a phenomenal mood on Friday because I had 3 days off. I came back Friday and then I have the weekend off. And I was like, cool, we're in the clear now. Because that's the only person that I know of that I worked with that had any idea that I did a podcast. And also, fuck him, he got fired. And now we're going to talk about WrestleMania 19 for the GameCube.
Well, they couldn't do anything about it anyway, right? Because, like, whatever their social media policy is, it's your personal time. It's like they can't stop you from what you want to do on your personal time.
Yeah,
right?
So I think I mentioned to you, I was talking to like the assistant manager about it. And it was like, well, if people knew you worked here and you said like really disparaging or messed up stuff, then it could be an issue. But if you're not saying your real name and you're not saying where you work and you're just talking about wrestling and toys, her words, not mine, then I don't think anybody here would give a crap.
Mm.
And I was like, it's not really a conclusive answer because it doesn't matter if the store level gives a crap. It would be like if HR got this. And I brought it up to the store manager who just kind of looked at me and was like, I don't care if you do a podcast, just don't say anything. Just don't say names about people that work here. And I was like,
of course.
Good enough for me. But it's one of those, like, the wording is really nebulous because, like, it doesn't specifically state if you say your name. It's very much worded like if it can be proven that it's you. And I tend to think there are a lot of just, like, unremarkable white boys from the Midwest that sound like me. How many of them have the same particular opinions as me? I don't know. But yeah, I feel comfortable enough telling that story that we're not going to suffer any sort of ill effects from it.
Mm.
But it's been a fucking time. We got a lot of news on the back end, specifically with like wrestling figures and a lot of speculation. But we're going to talk about WrestleMania 19 first. This game launched, and I looked it up because I didn't remember the exact date. September 8th, 2003 on the Nintendo GameCube. I somehow, it's crazy. I was sick that day, and my mom took me to GameStop in Lima to get it. And just to go on like a little bit of like Mongo nostalgia story time here. I remember towards the end of 5th grade when the video, like the first videos of this hit, and seeing like The Undertaker and Rey Mysterio, and just like seeing Rey Mysterio in a WWE game was like, holy shit, because obviously he misses SmackDown Shut Your Mouth, and so does John Cena, which is also like a weird one because he shows up in the summer. But like seeing the blood, which you can't really see because Undertaker's got the headband or the bandana on, and like the way the character models looked, like the bright, high contrast, like kind of art style, it looked totally different from WrestleMania 18 or X8, whatever you want to call it. And like tap for weak, hold for strong, that now applied to the grapples. And I was so freaking excited. I wrote a report on the first fucking news drop about this game for like my last paper in 5th grade, and I got like a 96 on it. It was like it's like the most me thing ever. And I remember we're going to talk about Revenge Mode, but I remember being kind of like, oh, there's only 5 arenas in the game because they did this. That was kind of like a point of contention for me when I was a kid. Was I didn't like that it didn't have all of the arenas, but the gameplay and the character models, like just the overall art direction of everything, I was like, this looks so fucking cool. And I mean, we'll get into the roster before we talk about anything else, but we've got Al Snow, Batista, Big Show, Booker T, Brock Lesnar, Bubba Ray Dudley, Chavo Guerrero, Chris Benoit, Chris Jericho, Chris Nowinski, Christian. A lot of people with Chris in their names in this game for some fucking reason. Devon Dudley, Don Marie, Eddie Guerrero, Edge, Goldberg, Goldust, Hollywood Hulk Hogan, Hurricane, John Cena, Kane, Kurt Angle, Lance Storm, Lita, Matt Hardy, Randy Orton, Rey Mysterio, Ric Flair, Rikishi, Rob Van Dam, Scott Steiner, Shawn Michaels, Stacy Keibler, Seth McMahon, Steve Austin, Tajiri, Test, The Rock, Tori Wilson, Triple H, Trish Stratus, The Undertaker, William Regal, Vince McMahon, and Victoria. You
Anyone
get
that
basically everybody. Oh, gone.
is there anyone that's only appeared in this game? I think Chris Nowinski, right?
Is he in Raw too?
Maybe now that you mention it, he might be.
Because that's like my thing is Raw 2 in this game have like very interesting rosters in that there's some people that I don't remember being in many, if any, other games in this era.
Yeah,
Like, like I think Jamie Noble's like only in Raw 2.
I feel like Don Marie wasn't in a lot of games.
Yeah, no, like especially WWE games. This and Raw 2 might be it.
Hmm.
But this is notable as being John Cena's WWE game debut and also the first appearance of Doctor of Thugonomics John Cena because we missed out on prototype Cena in SmackDown Shut Your Mouth. I think this is also the first appearance of Batista because
Uh,
he's a
yeah,
he's a call name in SmackDown Shut Your Mouth.
right, yeah.
So that's two pretty big. And it's also the first WWE game appearance of Goldberg. It's the first WWE game appearance of Scott Steiner. So there's some considerable debuts here. Also, just on like a graphical note, this is the first game where Hogan actually tears his shirt on his entrance. That was like the coolest shit to me when I was like 12.
There's also like a lot of the themes were missing from X8. Now you've got like Voodoo Child and Booker T's theme, and I think there was one that was missing that they had like a previous version of. I think it was maybe Lita's theme, but like everyone else is in there, so that's cool.
Van Dam has his invasion theme, which
Oh,
is
did
weird.
they? Okay.
Yeah, because I don't think he has it in Here Comes the Pain either.
I
I'd
don't
have to think
think
about it.
so.
I want to say like, yeah, this is that weird period where like DVDs have like weird overdubbed themes for stuff you'd think they have the rights to, and then
Yeah, that's right.
like a year later, the DVDs all have the correct themes, but like the video games don't now, even though the video games might have had some of the correct themes the year before. Just a weird fucking mess for stuff like
Yeah.
this. But to go to the gameplay, they stick with the foundation of WrestleMania X8, but they add the Aki strong grapple stuff to this game, and it makes a world of difference in how the game feels because it feels like the move sets are larger now, even if they technically aren't. Um, it also just helps with like match flow. It's not just like immediately grab, you do a move. You have like the ability to strong grab, walk the distance so they don't wind up next to the ropes, which I appreciate. You still have your 4-punch combo. You don't mash buttons to get up in this game though. You wiggle the analog stick, which I hated as a kid, but I don't mind it so much
I
now.
think you can mash buttons as well. I think that works
I
too.
just know I've honestly never tried it because of the on-screen prompt.
Yeah.
I don't like to disobey the game when it tells me what to do. Um, you do have the L counter for grapples, R for strikes. This feels worlds better than X8. And I said this to you, and I feel like I might be going insane. I think if we're talking just regular ass like one-on-one matches, I do like the way the gameplay feels here more than Here Comes the Pain. I will also concede Here Comes the Pain is still a far better game. Here Comes the Pain does like 8 million things better than this game does. But like if I had like 10 minutes and I wanted to load up one game based on '03 WWE to play one or two matches, it's probably going to be this just because I like the way the game feels.
This definitely feels like what they wanted or the idea of X8 because like if the whole thing was like, yeah, we're gonna do something that's doesn't necessarily feel like Aki, but sort of like Aki inspired, then you look at this game with the graphics and the grappling system and everything, it's like, well, this is probably what they meant by that. And for whatever
Yeah.
reason, X8 didn't really work out. So yeah, it's just a really fun game to look at. Like the graphics style. I mean, I wondered why like they didn't continue with this. Like maybe it didn't sell as well as they hoped. I don't know, but it's so strange that they had X8 and 19, which are quite different, and then both of them are gone, and then the next year you have Day of Reckoning, and that game gets a sequel. You know, it's like why did they drop this? I wonder.
I've always wondered why they dropped the WrestleMania. You know what? They shifted the WrestleMania branding to the Xbox, and I've always thought that it
Yeah.
was because maybe Raw and Raw 2 did not like sell as well, but like the WrestleMania name carried like some cachet.
Yeah, probably.
It's the only thing that makes any sense. I wish they would have just like instead of calling the Nintendo games WrestleMania, I wish they would have just fucking why can't we get a game called SummerSlam? I guess SummerSlam doesn't make a whole lot of sense because that feels very like time specific.
Hmm.
But like something else. I mean, the fucking most recent Nintendo wrestling game was named after the October '99 pay per view. And the only reason that pay per view is significant at all is because the ladder match was highly influential on the fucking video game we got the next year.
Right.
Tell me one thing that happens on No Mercy 99 that's not that ladder match.
Oh, I have no bloody idea.
Wait, is that the night Jeff Jarrett? Yeah, it's the night Jeff Jarrett held them up for money.
Nah,
I don't know what the main event of that show was.
no idea.
You fuck me either. It's 99 WWF. But I love the gameplay. I love the way it feels. Also, there's some like really cool animations in here that don't make it into like SmackDown. Like Brock has this. He does like the two-handed choke, but then he throws the guy up and does the double power bombs.
Hmm.
And that's such a satisfying animation. You also get a ton of like spirit meter or momentum meter or special meter, whatever you want to call it, out of this. Oh, that's another big change. Your 3 finisher stocks now activate a special state. Like the Aki games, you just press A and B, and then you press A and B again to do whatever your finisher is. And I had no memory of this. Undertaker, if you knock him down while he has a special state going on, he sits up,
Oh, nice.
which is weird because it's 03 Undertaker, but I'll take it.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
RVD and Shawn Michaels kip up, which is neat. Also, I think the blood in this game looks way better than it does in Here Comes the Pain. I also like the little selling animation when somebody gets busted open better than Here Comes the Pain. But I'll say
Yeah, I'd agree
this:
with that.
I don't like the mid-match cutscene when somebody gets like when a body part's like injured. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind of silly.
But I'll say this: I do love that like they have the Aki, I'm gonna hold the body part that's hurt going on
Mhm.
because that carries over into Day of Reckoning 1 and 2, and I'm pretty sure it carries over into Wrestle Kingdom as well. I try not to think about Wrestle Kingdom unless I'm really down bad for like those guys in this. And I think I figured it out. I think I've also said it on the show a bunch. I think the reason those Wrestle Kingdom games are so like disappointing after a minute is the novelty of like, hey, it's Day of Reckoning with those guys wears off. And I think we even said this when we talked about it. You can just play other games that are a little bit better or a lot better, depending on which game you're playing. But like this play style works perfectly. Like the three games we're going to talk about starting with this are all games that I think are legitimately great because they're WWE. You do the same gameplay with like the Japanese rosters that have all of the other games of that era. It's not as impressive because you have
Also,
options.
like I've brought it up before, but like the atmosphere in the Wrestle Kingdom games is just non-existent.
Yeah, sound design is weirdly better here, but still not great.
Every like move sounds like a shotgun.
It kind of, yeah. You know what I will say though? I love the fucking sound that like the ring mat makes when people run across it because it doesn't sound like a wrestling ring at all. I don't
Yeah.
know what the hell it sounds like, but I love it. It's like such a specific sound that I only associate with like these games, and I don't even think it's that noticeable in like Day of Reckoning 1 or 2. They might have done a completely new sound. Obviously, the big single player campaign mode for this game is called Revenge Mode, and a lot of people hated this at the time because it wasn't really a wrestling centric mode. I thought it was cool when I was a kid. I still think it's cool
Yeah,
because I'm the one person.
you
Which
just
one?
go around murdering people. It's a really anti-union game.
Well, consider the company it's for, right?
True.
I love WWF Betrayal, so the idea of having like a 3D version of that kind of built into a game that I thought was already like pretty good. That was really appealing to me as a kid. This mode is ridiculously difficult, though.
The idea of the
Like,
mode, like especially the first area, the construction area, it kind of reminds me of the Warriors because that game had like a King of the Hill mode where you would like
yeah,
throw people off and that's how you won. Although that mode was a lot more fun because it would be everyone against everyone. I think they had team battles as well. In this,
yep,
it's just like everyone against you. So you're constantly trying to get rid of people while someone else attacks you at the same time. And the first one is just like eliminate like 6 people or whatever. And the next one I think is like 10 people. And the next one is like, um, well, Ric Flair's gonna eliminate people at the same time, so who can get the most of eliminations? And then after that it's fight 2 guys, and then there's a giant chain link fence, and you have to climb it to throw Kurt Angle off. And that was frustrating as hell because every time I'd, think I'd had them down for long enough and start climbing the fence, they'd pull me off. But eventually I beat that. And then the one after that was protect like the crane controls or something. Before the wrestler can grab them. I don't know what exactly it said, but like it started and before I even knew what was going on, Benoit ran past me and ran up the giant chain link fence, and I lost. I was just like, that's bullshit. Like I didn't even know what was going on, and he's already won. So yeah, I think there's cool ideas. There's a cool idea in that mode, and I think you can use it in different ways. Like you could have like just pushing someone off a building, or that could be its own match type in a way. If you think about something like hybrid wrestler, something like the way it was like they had like a scaffold match that wasn't exactly a scaffold match. This is kind of it's a similar idea, just in 3D. So I think there's some like cool ideas that could have been implemented. It's just the execution I don't think is very well. Like it's not set out in a very fun way if you having multiple people that you have to beat up in every damn level. Um Also I hated the manual camera. Like I was fighting with the
yeah.
camera to put it where I wanted it, and it was just very frustrating.
I will say there's like the shipping container thing, like the dock or whatever, where like you can put people through the floor like it's Hell in a Cell.
Yeah.
And I remember failing a mission and landing in the water, and the water like weirded me out. I have like a weird thing about like water in video games, and also I guess in real life. But like the way it like the way it looks just seems so like unnatural and weird. It looks like fucking like ooze more than it does water. If that makes any sense. And it's like one of those things. I have like a weird issue with games that like there's the Atlantis thing in Marvel Ultimate Alliance where like you go into like a room to get something and there's like the big like black hole or whatever. That shit used to freak me out when I was a kid. And then I actually just beat God of War 3 the other day, and there's the segment at the end of the game where you're like swimming around and you like it looks like you're in the void, you're following like the light of Pandora. And I was just like, oh, this is giving me a little bit of the heebie jeebies. I don't like this. So when I went through the gimmick in 19 and saw the water again, I was like, no, no, do not want. It was very strange. Some of the missions are fun. Others, like I don't care about the like knock 8 people off the gimmick. That chain link fence one is fucking bullshit. Where you have to climb up and knock the WWE guy off.
Yeah.
Oh Jesus, that was like the 4-way cage match in Day of Reckoning 2's story mode for me. Like when I was a kid, I was like, fuck this bullshit. And it's not like you unlock anything fucking worthwhile beating this mode also. Like I'm pretty sure like Vince is the final boss. You fight him at WrestleMania, which is crazy because you fucking destroyed the construction site, destroyed the fucking promotional material in the mall. You stopped the shipping containers at the fucking dock. Like how the fuck was he able to still get Mania up?
The show must go on.
I guess. That was like the one logical. Like I honestly, when I was a kid, I thought you were gonna just fight him in like an empty ring in the middle of nowhere.
It made sense.
And also the ending, Stephanie McMahon's like, "Oh, congratulations, we fucked Vince over or whatever," and the crowd's chanting Goldberg, and she gets speared by Goldberg. I've never beaten the game with him to see if you still get that same ending though.
That's what happens at the end.
Yeah,
Okay.
It was 2003, man. My
No, no,
biggest
I
problem with the
mean,
revenge mode.
it's just how
Oh, go on.
random.
Yeah, I thought the same thing when I was a kid and I saw that ending for the first time. I uh I hate that this mode cost us having more arenas for exhibition. I also hate that this mode cost us like as much as I like this mode and I think it's a really cool idea and there's even some of the missions I've had fun with. There's also like weird platforming type stuff where you have to like swing around and shit.
Yeah, there's like poles and shit that you can climb up and like jump across and jump from like a pole to a platform and stuff. Yeah, there's some really cool ideas, and it makes me wonder like how they could have implemented them for other match types.
This should have just been its own game.
Probably.
Like I like it and everything, but like I load up exhibition and it's like Raw, SmackDown, Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, WrestleMania. You don't get the full run of arenas, and there's all the characters that are created specifically for the mode, like the generic security guards and like workers and stuff, and then you get weird like boss characters, quote unquote, like Hanzo Mon, but it's not Hanzo Mon from Revenge. Like you could have added even more characters to the roster.
Yeah.
Like this game could have had a roster that was the same size as Here Comes the Pain or close to it.
Especially
And
because
it's pretty close as it is.
there's wrestlers in the mode, so it would have made sense to have them, would have made sense to have you fight them and then they become unlockable.
Yeah. Instead, you unlock the boss characters for each level, and like, oh golly gee whiz, here's characters I'm never gonna fucking use. This game's the first game. Also, real quick to talk about the creator wrestler mode. There's like a paint tool in this game, and I tried so hard as a kid to do Rhino's like singlet designs in this game, and I couldn't do it because I have no artistic talent.
This was the game that NoDQ.com had like a whole federation built around using the creator wrestler.
I have no memory of that, but that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it was a big thing because of how free it was and the fact that you can, draw and paint your own things onto it. They had like a lot of pretty crazy creations, and I remember being like I never really paid much attention to it because I just wasn't into it. But I remember seeing like a lot of creations, and people would talk about it quite a bit back then.
The creator wrestler mode in this game's good. I mean, it. Spoiler alert: it's good in Day of Reckoning 1 and 2 as well.
Yeah,
Um, if you can master the paint tool, I just thought of this. Rhino's like the one big omission from this game's roster. Looking at the
yeah.
O3 roster, like that's like the one guy I think this game's actually missing.
Hmm.
Uh, but like if you can get the paint tool down, you can pretty much make almost anybody that would be relevant for this era.
A lot of the ones that they had were like in that no DQ things. It was like all like superheroes and like Jason Voorhees and like Freddy Krueger and stuff. It was I don't think they actually created any wrestlers were a part of it, but they looked really good because, as you said, like the paint tool was it had so many different options that you could use it for, and it had more accurate depictions of certain people.
Yeah, there's a lot to like about this game. I also just this this is the closest we're ever gonna get to having like a proper like hockey style version of like Rob Van Dam or John Cena, like the next three games are basically.
Yeah,
And not that Brock Lesnar too. I guess he's in Wrestle Kingdom as well. I think he plays better in this game than he does in Wrestle Kingdom. Also, just as a note, Brock Lesnar is like the Gary Albright full Nelson suplex as a back finisher. Now he never did that shit in real life, but that didn't stop me from using that as the primary finisher in this game. Even when I was a kid, I was like this. And also, this game is a different F5 animation than SmackDown, and I actually think this looks better than the shut your mouth animation. I don't think it looks better than the really cool one he gets in Here Comes the Pain.
mm.
But I think this one looks better. Also, this game has an incredible Steiner screwdriver animation.
Yeah. The animations in this game are like really nice. It's funny because some of the animations look like they're pulled from SmackDown, but because of the graphics, there's just something different about them. I don't really know how to explain it, but also like a lot of the other moves are just more impactful. Like one of the first things I saw was like the suplex reversal to the outside, and just the way the guy or the way the wrestler lets go of the opponent and they sort of take that back bump on the outside looked really impactful and was cool for just something that was kind of like a basic move.
Yeah. And like stuff like the choke slam, like it's funny. I played as a whole bunch of shitheads in this game because that's like most of the roster. But like playing as the Undertaker in this game is more fun than playing as the Undertaker in like virtually every other fucking wrestling game ever.
Yeah.
All of his shit looks cool. All of his shit like has like tangible like weight and impact to it. And I also just think this is the coolest Undertaker character model ever. And that it obviously goes back to when I saw the first gameplay footage and was like, wow, this looks so much better than WrestleMania X8. And goddamn, I love this game. Play it. There's 5 arenas in exhibition mode, and the revenge mode is kind of just for the sickos only, but fucking play this game. There's this weird narrative now that Ukes, like, none of the Ukes games are good, or if you think a Ukes game is good, it has to be Here Comes the Pain, or SVR06, or 2K14, or 2K19. I would rather play this game than every game I just listed except Here Comes the Pain. And even then, depends on the day.
That. Yeah.
Like, this game is so much fun.
And it's unique. Like there's no other game around the time that looks like this.
No. And it's funny because like we get 2 different Aki games in the same year as this game. And it was like 3 games that approach the same general idea of gameplay very differently.
Yeah.
They all felt completely unique. Graphically, gameplay wise, feature set wise, they're all completely unique from one another. And I'm always going to be sad that we never got something like that again. Because like, yeah, we get DOR 2 and Wrestle Kingdom 1 technically in the same year if you go with the 360 version. But they're the same fucking game, or the same general gameplay, like combat system. Like Wrestle Kingdom has like the chain wrestling button mash mini game. Day of Reckoning 2 has the really cool stamina system. But it wasn't like we got that, and then here's like Aki doing a wrestling game, and then here's Aki doing like a cartoon wrestling game. 03 was such a great year for wrestling games. King of Coliseum Green, Fire Pro Z, All Star Pro 3, this game, Here Comes the Pain, Def Jam, Ultimate Muscle. Like, we're never going to have it better than we did that year. We had so many goddamn choices, and the majority of them were actually good.
Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. Games were relatively cheap to make. Wrestling was not what I would call hot at all anywhere. But, like, you could shovel these fucking wrestling games out, man, and people would buy them. And just, yeah, playing 19 again the last couple of weeks, it reminded me of like, I felt like every couple of months there was a new wrestling game coming out because that was kind of the case. And just the excitement of having like the choice. Like at one point I had all 3 of the WWE games for 03 and I had Def Jam. And if I wanted to play Ultimate Muscle, it was just a short ride to Family Video. And it was so cool, especially once you got into like 04 and 05 when like Day of Reckoning came out. I didn't really like the original SVR, but like that's another game for the pile. And then in 05, you have the 3 WWE games. You could throw Def Jam Fight for New York in there for 04. Just looking at like the sheer number of games that I'd gotten, and that's before I got into buying import games. The feeling I'm about to describe increases tenfold at that point. But it's like you look at just the games that came out from like 03 to 05, and you look at all the cases on like the shelf, and it's like I have so many fucking options, man. Like, good Lord, we're never gonna have that again.
No.
The feeling of like, I want to play a wrestling game and I actually don't know which one I want to play because there are so many and I fucking love every single one.
Imagine if the video game budgets hadn't gone out of control and, maybe we could have had more options. That would have been cool.
Yeah. And part of the problem is the technology got more demanding, which means you have to spend more money to develop. But like,
they don't do themselves any favors either.
No, unrealistic expectations, overinflated budgets. We bitch about it all the time on the show.
Yeah.
But like, this game is a time capsule Also in '03 we got fucking Crush Hour. So like there was a WWE
Oh, that's
Twisted
right.
Metal
Yeah.
game that year too. And like this game is a reminder of a time where you could just get a bunch of games for a certain licensed property, and even if you weren't like somebody who just consumed the licensed slop that got handed out, there were still a ton of fucking games. You could go into Walmart and there would be like three. They have like the big wall of fucking cases, and like two and a half of them would be PlayStation, like one and a half would be Xbox, and like one would be like 2/3 Game Boy, and then like 1/3 GameCube for a little bit, and then they evened it out for everybody. And now it's like, yeah, Summer Games Fest showed off a bunch of games, a lot of independent ones. A lot of them just seem to be the same game on some
Yep.
level. And I think if you showed 12-year-old me what the graphics look like now versus the choice in games, I think 12-year-old me would be like, yeah, those graphics are cool, but I'd rather have more games. And this game reminds me of that time period. Like, I went to the GameStop in the Lima Mall to get this, and like walking in there, because I hadn't been in there in years. Like walking in there and seeing like just wall to wall, like shit I never saw at Walmart or Kmart or Toys R Us for that matter. Like that's gone now. You walk into a GameStop, it's like fucking 2/3 just Funko Pops and bullshit T-shirts and toys.
That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a also just real quick, this game also has what my friends and I have referred to for the last 2 decades as John Goodman Big Show. When he had like the little flat top and the facial hair, and he kind of looked like a giant version of John Goodman in The Big Lebowski. This is the only appearance of that character in a. No, actually, I think he's this version in Raw 2 as well, but he's not in Here Comes the Pain. So yeah, now having said that, this game is better than Here Comes the Pain because it has that version of Big Show.
He seemed to go through like a lot of different hairstyles and stuff before he just like shaved it all off.
Yeah, yeah, he did. And you know what's crazy? We never actually got a figure of that version of Big Show either.
Yeah.
Because
I
remember,
think
they just kept re-releasing the R3 one, which was based on late '01 until like, what was it, '05 when they did the new giant body?
they would have got one based on like Survivor Series with the cast and like the jeans when he beat Lesnar.
I wanted one because I was like, I want a Big Show that looks like he does on TV now. And they were just like, here's the same Big Show your mom bought you in early '02. Have fun.
Mm.
And then they use that body on Andre. So like you get Classics 1 Andre and it's literally just Big Show with an Andre head.
Well, I mean, he is his son after all.
It's true. Yeah, it's like how they use the Harry Smith pictures as reference for Davy Boy.
Yeah. They look exactly the same.
Yeah, that was like Steve from Mattel's answer is always, well, I mean, if it looks like Harry, I mean, that's his son. There's some resemblance there, but
It's
come
not
on
like,
now.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not like if you look at Randy Orton now, he just looks like a bald version of his dad in like 2005. Like, it's scary how much he looks like his dad now and he didn't 20 years ago.
He needs a curly hair.
He needs to bring the douchebag hair back.
Yeah, he should just come out with the hair and just wear a cast at some point.
I felt like when he had the cast in like '02 when he was hurt, I remember my older cousins, because they were obviously around for the '80s boom, were like, "Oh, that's going to be like the cast was for his dad." Like they thought he was going to have like a loaded sling he was going to fucking hit people with.
Mm-hmm.
Looking back, I wish they did that because that sounds hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, it would have made sense. What was what Owen Hart was doing as well in like 96, 97?
Oh, when he had and I remember when my mom had her thumb joints replaced and she had a cast that looked exactly like the one Owen had. I was like, "Oh man, you're faking," because Owen has one of those too.
Yeah,
And
can
mom
you
was
hit me
like,
with that?
and I was like, "You're faking." And mom's like, "Hey, why don't you grab a hold of this real quick?" Because like I think somebody like grabbed Owen's cast and tore it on TV or something.
Yeah.
And like I remember grabbing a hold of my mom's cast and be like, "Oh no, that's real. Never mind, mom." And she was like, "Yeah, I wouldn't I wouldn't be wearing a cast right now just for fun." I was 6. This game's also a reminder of like when I actually liked watching WWE TV because like SmackDown in '03 was still good. They hadn't completely decimated the SmackDown 6, but also like Bix posted this years ago, and I totally forgot about this during the Vince and Stephanie thing. where they do the angle where Stephanie basically implies that Vince trafficked. She didn't imply. She flat out says that Vince trafficked
I
her when she
remember
was
that.
underage.
Yeah.
I had no memory of that until I saw Bix post that, and I was like, "Fuck yeah, they did. They really." Once a year, they would just decide we're going to do the goofy soap opera bullshit on SmackDown because we don't have enough of it on the fucking Red show. We gotta fuck up the other show too.
You know who should have
And
been unlockable in this game? Al Wilson.
I mean, it would have been probably the only game he would have, I guess, made the roster cutoff for. Well, I mean, he was dead, quote unquote. Dude, that storyline was so wild. Do you like remember how many people had the Tori and Dawn kiss as like their profile picture or signature on message boards during that era?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like the people that were like so offended, like the WWE fans that were so offended by like the Mina Shirakawa, Mariah May, Tony Storm stuff. There's no way they were alive for that Tori Wilson, Dawn Marie angle. That was. I remember somebody on Wrestling Figs calling it like it's Skinamax without the ending. It was like such a weird, bizarre thing to fucking watch because wrestling did not go that far with that kind of stuff before that so much.
Those
And
people
it's
were
like,
alive then. They're just bullshitting now. That's the only difference.
I mean, if you told me some of the people that were really offended about that were born in like 2006, I'd believe it because we're fucking old.
But like, I don't know if you've seen, but like some of these accounts get exposed, and the dudes behind them are like 50.
Oh, geez, yeah,
Yeah.
no. Yeah, I wish Al Wilson. I wish Al Wilson was the final boss of Revenge Mode. Now, fucking imagine that he's back from the dead
In
to
his
defend the
underwear.
honor of WrestleMania. God, the I mean, listen. All things being equal, there are worse ways to go out than being Viagra'd up with Don Marie in a hotel room.
I'm imagining him as like the final boss in like Metal Gear Revengeance or something like that.
Nano Machine, son.
Yeah.
That's what kept him going for so long. Don Marie gave him Fox Die. That's what finally
God.
took him out. Added in the Metal Gear Solid theme here. Um, I don't. I guess there is wrestling video game news insofar as like Shaq's coming to 2K and Abyss is coming to 2K.
I think Shaq being part of the game is really cool.
Yeah. I
I like that.
Here's my thing though. I kind of wish because they have the agreement with 2K, who has the agreement with the NBA, and the WWE and the NBA seem to be on very good terms at this point. I kind of wish Shaq was in like an Orlando Magic jersey.
Yeah, that would have been fun. Or like his gear from like Shaq Fu would have been a fun reference. I don't like
That
his
yeah,
theme.
actually, it's a better idea.
I've got to change his theme song to "I'm Outstanding" from the Shaq Diesel album that I had when I was a kid.
I wanted Shaq Fu so badly when I was a kid, and my mom wouldn't buy it for me.
I bought it. Well, my parents bought it for me. And I played. I didn't even think it was like that bad or anything. Then, of course, years later, you go online and people call it like the worst game ever made.
I find a lot of the games that have that billing are not actually that bad.
Yeah,
And the version of Abyss, like it's cool to see Abyss because I was a huge fan of him 20 years ago. That sounds really condescending. I don't mean it to be. Like I still like watching old Abyss stuff now.
Hmm.
I just wish that the version of Abyss that we were getting wasn't the like this basically is exactly what he looked like when he was on the Indies with like Sammy Callahan, like 2017 or so.
Right.
And I kind of wish you don't have to do like blue denim shirt Abyss, but like '05 Abyss would have been cool. And this is me getting into like mental masturbation fantasy booking. But if we could have gotten Abyss, it'd be a really cool thing. Stealth patch in fucking '05 AJ Styles to go with him.
Yeah, that'd be neat. Yeah,
Oh no,
I'm
they would do
actually.
him as a persona thing in my faction. Never mind. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to suggest that. Please don't do that, 2K.
So, I mean, the thing with Abyss being in the game, I don't think it's got anything to do necessarily with TNA. I think he probably owns the character, right?
He does, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But also, those TNA contracts had like a weird licensing perpetuity thing.
Mm.
Because if you remember when Jeff Jarrett got sideways with TNA and left, for years he couldn't put out merch because they technically own the rights to his shit.
Right.
And that's how we've gotten the micro brawlers post TNA for Abyss and Bobby Roode.
So I don't expect he'll
But
have his theme song, which is a shame.
yeah, I mean, Kyle Peterson a year ago mentioned like a TNA line from Mattel. I don't know if that was something that was just being like thrown around. I know Mattel Steve was like, well, we don't have an agreement with TNA, but like y'all used a fucking TNA picture of AJ Styles on that Target AJ figure.
Mhm.
You photoshopped it to not. I mean, they photoshopped it. It still looked exactly like AJ Styles from '05 or whatever. Just do a fucking Abyss. TNA is not going to sue you. They need you.
True. I don't know if you're aware as well, but like the first pack they released, there was like a surprise celebrity guest or whatever. They still haven't released that.
So I saw somebody in a Discord server talking about that the other day, and I kind of giggled because, like,
I know
who is
that
it supposed to be?
I think it's I heard Travis Scott, but like KSI is in the files. Like I don't think he was announced, but his like model and stuff is in the files itself. So it's got to be him. But for whatever reason, they just haven't released it yet. Um, but regarding this DLC, Shaq's cool, Abyss is cool, Great Khali is I don't really care. But like NBA players are just like such a waste. I mean, if you could get anyone, why wouldn't you get like I don't know? If you got Shaq, get Rodman. Can we get like what if we get like Michael Jordan and he does like wacky Space Jam shit? That'd be cool.
I'm cool with having Tyrese Halliburton. Shout outs to the Pacers.
Also, I don't even know who they
My
are.
thing, my thing is, if you're gonna have like celebrity guests, I want their movesets to be like all things being equal. If this kind of thing happened during like SmackDown Here Comes the Pain, they would have just copy pasted one of the Japanese movesets onto them.
Yeah,
Like I want Tyrese Halliburton wrestling like Masahiro Chono.
I saw. It looks like one of them's gonna have the ninja mark. Like it's not really a Sasuke special, but that those multiple cartwheels he does. I saw that was one of the leaked DLC moves.
Interesting.
Um, you know who they should put in as Horace Grant and give him the Grandmaster Sexy leg drop, so he puts on like the glasses. You know what I mean?
Yeah. A few weeks ago while watching Dynamite, my friends and I were talking. Do you remember when during the Cole and Lawler feud he showed up in like 2011 and got like no fucking reaction?
Yes, yeah, I remember.
Like all things
Yeah.
being equal, like the way his life ended was awful. But that being the last memory of him that I have is incredibly fucking funny because say whatever you want about him as a worker or like the alleged backstage stuff. Too Cool and Rikishi were incredibly fucking over. And
Yeah,
for him to show up, and I get that it was like, 9 years after his run ended, but for him to show up that far afterward and not even the adults in the crowd seemed to give a shit, that was brutal.
yeah.
I felt so bad watching. I was laughing, don't get me wrong, but I felt so fucking bad because I think that's around the time they did John Cena, This Is Your Life, and they brought out Bull Buchanan and like nobody gave a shit.
Or Bob Buchanan.
Shout out to Bull Buchanan. Honestly, he
Yeah,
was a good wrestler.
ROD. Oh yeah,
Yeah, and then they went to Noah, and he was really fucking good there too.
yeah.
He's also way older than I thought he was too, because I was watching OVW from like '02 yesterday, and he's wrestling Shelton, and they're like, he's just as agile as some of these young men, and I was like, he's not even that fucking old here, and then I looked it up, and Bull Buchanan in '02 was as old as I am now, and I was like, God damn,
I think his
never
his
mind,
son,
Bull, you are old.
his son was like attacked backstage in NXT, so I don't know if they're keeping him around or not.
I don't think I knew his son was in NXT.
I can't even remember his name, but he was the dude that one dark match came out to Journey separate ways and looked like Brad Armstrong. Like he was going for like this. It's like his character was going to be like an '80s wrestler or something, and then they changed it to something else. Brooks Jensen, I think is his name.
Was that the guy that wore the Ole Anderson shirt?
Probably.
Because
I
that
think
name
so.
sounds like the one that I remember people being mad that he wore an Ole Anderson shirt because Ole was a piece of shit.
Yeah, I think he does wear like a lot of classic shirts, and I know he's talked about like ROD before, and he met Muto when he was being inducted in the Hall of Fame and stuff like that.
Huh. So, Virtual Basement hasn't updated in forever.
Nope.
Has Dave tweeted anything from PWX? Because the last time I
I
looked at their Facebook page, it had not been updated since March.
Yeah, I'm following them on Facebook, but I feel like I haven't seen a post in a long, long time.
Take a gander at the Twitter page real quick. Yeah, no, the last social media post was in March.
Interesting.
Well, all things being equal, I hope everything's all right with Dave.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird that nothing's been said about PWX. I mean, even if there's no updates, there's usually like some sort of newsletter or something.
Yeah, that's I didn't mean to maybe get a little depressing. I just when Dave talked to us, there were things, and this was 2.5 years ago. But there were things going on with family members, and I genuinely hope nothing
Yeah, of
bad.
course.
Wrestling figure news or action figure news in general. Uh, we had a Mattel reveal drop recently that was like a lot of things we'd seen 3D renders for. We now saw in plastic, like the Monday Night War Scott Steiner Ultimate. That thing is incredible. I think they gave him a new torso. Looking at this now, I don't think that's the Batista one that they keep
Mhm.
reusing. Uh, Obviously, he has the newer arms for the from the Elite. 3 heads. My biggest complaint is the chainmail being just solid like gray plastic sucks. Like do a couple of washes of paint on that so it doesn't look like shit, please.
Yeah.
That would be nice. We saw the Evolution Randy Orton Ultimate, and one weird thing I noticed is in the piece count picture, he has what I assume is the correct torso that the figure will come with because it's what's on the figure on the inbox shot. However, the one that's like him with the belt and he's doing the pose, I got the figure yesterday, so I'm pretty damn sure I'm right about this. He's pictured with the Stone Cold Steve Austin Monday Night War Ultimate torso.
Interesting.
And I think also on the back of the box, the picture of him doing the pose. Yeah, that's I'm pretty sure it's just the Steve torso. It's such a weird thing because that feels like a Jax mistake, and Mattel doesn't do that a whole lot that I can think of at least. Um, but that Orton is such a significant upgrade over the Elite that came out in 2021. Like I have that Elite. I dug it out of the box the other day. That thing still has single jointed arms with pins. Like doesn't even have double jointed elbows. This does. It has the diaphragm joint, the butterflies for whatever little range of motion you get from them. Both heads from the Evolution box set, including the one where he's kind of like, what the fuck?" Which is weird because one of the pictures is just him standing there with that head sculpt, and it's like fucking stupidest picture. Um, I'll probably grab this. I'm assuming pre-orders during San Diego Comic Con. Um, we saw, goddamn, Instagram just closed on me. I was scrolling down to see what else we saw that would have been of interest to either of us. I know they showed off a Monday Night War Elite set as well. I need to. I don't want to say it's the GI Bro one because I don't think it is. You know
No.
what? I'm just gonna go to Wrestling Figure News page and scroll down because the major page they post like 9 million things and it's all bullshit. It's the Shark, Pillman, Bischoff, and 2000 Undertaker wave. You know what's interesting is on one of the leaks I saw, this Undertaker was actually the Ultimate for like the next WWE Ultimate
That's like
for this
Undertaker
line.
Undertaker 96, right? Like the Phantom.
Oh yeah, that one just went up for pre-order. The Undertaker 2000 was leaked as like a Monday Night War Ultimate, so I don't know if
Ah,
that was just
gotcha.
somebody saw like a sample and assumed Ultimate, but it was actually an Elite.
Yeah, maybe.
Like that's happened before. I'm pretty sure.
Gotta say, I'm a
Um,
big fan of that John Tenta with the, I brought it up before, but like the half shaved head, I think is great.
yeah, yeah, it's really cool. I um I have horrible luck finding the Elites from this line at stores, so I don't think I'm gonna have a snowball shot in hell
Oh,
of
I'm
getting
not getting
these.
anything because you can. Walmart never has anything new in, and Toys R Us is shutting down. So seeing anything in person has gone to like, I don't know, 10% of finding anything.
Oh, that sucks. Yeah. I'll also say this. That Pillman is nowhere near as good as the Zombie Sailor one.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, it's not the exact same attire, but it has the vest and it's in like the jeans or whatever. The jeans actually have like a wash to them, that's interesting for a Mattel figure. They don't typically like to go that far with these things. Yeah, the highlight of this set, though, looking at it honestly, are just the two John Tenta figures. They're both tremendous. I'm glad that he's still getting merchandise made. I'm just looking at the Steiner again, and like, if I displayed him, zero chance the chainmail's going on him without me grabbing a fucking paintbrush and washing some like dark gray and black onto that. You're charging $33 for this shit, man. Like, how the fuck
I can't remember who it
how the
was,
fuck
but
are you putting a little effort in?
someone made mods for 2K25, and it was like Earthquake, and then Shark, and then Golga, and I was like, fuck it, I'm getting all of these, and I gave them all their own slots with their proper themes and everything. I was like, yeah, multiple John Tentas, give me those for sure.
I forgot until you mentioned it. They did a Golga figure,
Oh, that's right, yeah.
build a figure. Yeah, I actually. What set was that? No, I didn't find
Oh,
that set at Walmart. I found most of the Gorilla Monsoon set and the Dusty set. My bad.
the only thing that needed was like a decal of like carbon to put on the front of it.
Yeah, that was also the thing Mattel said was like, listen, we couldn't do that due to like licensing, but like,
Yeah, for sure.
there's going to be a million people doing decals of it. They showed the John Cena box set, which is basically the John Cena equivalent of the Hogan 40th anniversary box set that they did last year. You get yellow and black prototype Cena with like soft goods, so he can also be Doctor of Thugonomics. You get '05 Cena with the US belt, and then you get I don't I don't fucking know. I guess 2015 John Cena. Uh, don't have any. Oh, I guess Cena comes with both of the US belts from that era. That's adorable. I don't see myself buying this box set. I don't care about John Cena.
No.
Um, did we talk about the Punk Ultimate going up? Well, I think we did because that was like 3 weeks ago. Now that I
Yeah.
think back to it, they showed off some current like contemporary WWE elites. I don't give a fuck, man. I
Nope.
don't.
Me either.
Um, there's some independent stuff we can get into. There's a Power Town thing because there's always a Power Town thing.
Ugh.
There's also Kyle Peterson might have kicked over a hornet's nest with some speculation on the Jazzwares AEW line, and I have three distinct ideas of what I think it could be, and we'll get into that. Zombie Sailor also is putting out the second Bruce Lee this Wednesday, the yellow like jumpsuit version, which this looks really cool. I want the
Game
one
of
that's in the
Death.
tank top.
Yeah. That was a movie, right? Game of Death.
The yellow, yeah, I think that's what the yellow jumpsuit's from.
Yeah.
And then the tank top one's just like Enter the Dragon.
Hmm.
He also posted recently a video of like the Mr. Hughes figure being painted up at the factory. And what I know about this now is if you see one of these videos, it is not particularly recent. Sometimes
Yeah.
those like factory videos are like 2 or 3 months old. I
Yeah,
don't
he
know
has them in
why.
the vault for a bit.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it doesn't matter when he posts them. It's just really weird when you find out, like, yes, some of these clips are actually way older than you think they are.
Yeah,
Um, I don't know if we're still on track to get the new generation wave up for pre-order this summer. Obviously, the current trade war bullshit and the potential actual war that's brewing may end up putting kind of a damper on a lot of things.
I'd say, yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully the Pinnacle Collection figures are still on track, but on the pre-order status page on his website, they're not even like mentioned.
Mm.
So I can't imagine those are going to be canceled. It's probably just an oversight. I don't fucking know. Because like looking at it right now, the estimated ship dates right now are just Sandman, Ash, and the Bloodsport figures. And I'm gonna go out on a limb and say quarter 3 for those Bloodsport figures is being a little optimistic.
I'm okay waiting a bit for the Abdullah because there's probably going to be a stupid amount of like customs fees or whatever, and
Mm,
so let me build up some funds first before it actually comes out.
I can't wait to see that thing in person.
Yeah,
That's like just based on the pictures, like that's my favorite wrestling figure ever. They got everything dead on with him. Um, so we'll talk about the Power Town thing real quick. I guess around 10 days ago, as of the recording of this podcast, Magnum TA said there'd be an update the following week on Power Town. And let me just check the pre-order page on Power Town's website right now, real quick. Um, Pre-order status updated 3/5/25.
mm-hmm.
Um, you can still technically pre-order Ultra's Wave 2 on their website
That's
and the TNA figures.
that store that just so happens to ship from the same location as them.
Yep.
Um, Sent an email recently. It was like, we're selling figures from a personal collection, and it's Wave One, and it's also just the uncirculated ones that they've already released before.
And it's the
Uh,
coins of all the figures in Series
right,
1.
that too. Yeah,
And also that place that's totally not them but ships from the same location. That's also totally not the website for like Mike Rotunda. Totally doesn't redirect to them. So that company that was licensing all these names to WWE is also the company that handles Power Town's fulfillment. Isn't that just a little fucking weird? I know we talked about that before, but like it really feels like Power Town's getting ready to get the fuck out,
yep.
and there's going to be a
They
lot of
probably
collateral
should at this
damage.
point.
I think they need to fulfill the fucking pre-orders and
Oh
then
yeah,
get the
for
fuck
sure.
out.
Yeah,
I think they're just going to do the getting the fuck out part, which it's going to leave a lot of us holding the bag. I tried again recently to file a claim with Shop, and they did everything they could to just be like, "We can't do anything for you. You're gonna have to contact them. We'll send them another email." I've sent them like fucking 2 or 3 emails now. They don't care. They're only gonna
no.
pop back up when they're like, "Oh, we've got a pre-order coming." Nobody's gonna trust you at this point. And I know the fucking I haven't listened to the podcast in a while, but every time I hear about it, like Wrestling Figure News will stooge me a link to it every now and again. But like everybody that's like, I just listened to the Major Pod, they talk about Power Town. It's like it's pathetic how they just won't actually go full tilt calling them out for this.
How can you not?
Because Brian Myers was the one that brokered the fucking TNA Power Town deal.
Mm.
Like that one podcast a few weeks ago, it might have been a few months ago at this point, where it was like, well, it's only been a year. And Cardona, like mid sentence, he's like saying something else. It's only been a year. Come on, man. This isn't even like a case of like Zombie Sailor. Like I think on the podcast, I compared the number of figures Zombie has shipped since Power Town was announced to what they've shipped, and he like lapsed them several times, which is funny because he's the first person they shit on. Every time they shit on another one of the independent companies, he is the first one, and it's like I had Series 1 in hand, I had the Diamond Kerry Von Erich in hand, and I still have like 4 times as many Zombie Sailor figures in hand as I do. And that's not even factoring the ones I double dipped on. Still have 4 times as many Zombie Sailor figures in hand as I do Power Town because again, they've released Wave 1, which 6 figures, and then Cardona and Myers and a repaint of Kerry Von Erich. That's 9 figures in 3 years since they took people's money for Series 1.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we bring them up a lot, but like they're just like the amount of interest and the idea of the line as a whole was so like really goddamn cool. It's like basically like a Legends of Wrestling figure line, right? And with like actual titles and stuff. It's like what a great idea. And the figures came out, and obviously like looking back, they could have used different facial expressions and stuff, but still, like what a cool idea. It was like they couldn't have done like I don't know. It's just like there was like a lot of praise for it, and it could have been smooth sailing, but like they just fucked everyone over, and it's like the complete opposite about how I feel about them in the beginning, right? And God, what a disaster! Like, what a way to break your own business.
Yeah, they've done a tremendous job of just fucking everyone over who gave them any sort of like benefit of the doubt.
Yeah,
I was a big fan of them. I sung the praises of Series 1, and also Kyle Peterson is like, I really wanted this to be the new Classic Superstars line. Well, if you want a decent equivalent for that, take a look at Pinnacle Collection,
yeah,
because I would like to think if Classic Superstars, I mean, Ringside literally also has a Classic Superstars line, but like if the Classic Superstars line, as I saw it as a teenager, existed now, it would just be the zombie figures.
yeah, exactly.
Um, but to use Classic Superstars and Kyle Peterson as a segue, I was told that Kyle Peterson said there would be a major announcement at All In, and I was kind of given, I was given a different version of the quote than what I actually heard when I listened to it. So he says there's going to be huge reveals at All In. Of course, they're doing Starcast, so the fact that there's going to be a fan fest means they can just they don't have to set up anything. Like they wouldn't have to do anything separate. I guess is what I'm saying. Like there's already going to be a convention. Jazzworth is going to show up, and Kyle implied he knew what some of the reveals would be, but didn't give a hint. And then he said there's going to be a huge announcement that's going to be a game changer, and it's going to be really
ECW.
interesting. Maybe it's going to be really interesting for guys like him. And the reason the guys like him thing stuck with me is he's a huge Classic Superstars fan. He's also good friends with Jeremy Padour. Jeremy Padour has been posting about the Classic Superstars line more recently than he's posted anything about AEW of any substance. And
So are they gonna fuck off with like we're not gonna make anyone in WWE ties and shit like that?
well, that's what I was thinking about because like they finally did push out that Sting, and it's 2 different versions of him that Sting wears, I think, a variation of that gear in All Japan, but the face paints aren't exact.
Yeah,
Blade Runner Sting, that looks more like the fucking Mid South version than the Memphis version. I mean, they're pretty similar, but still. And then like the Sting box set, the one Sting is literally goddamn 1999 Sting. The promo picture, I'm pretty sure, was used on one of the Sting DVDs. So maybe it is like, hey, we've signed people to marketing deals and we're going to do these. But that feels like you're inviting some sort of like legal letter bullshit from WWE. And I'm not really sure Jeremy wants that attention. The only attention he wants from WWE is them offering to hand the license over, I think.
yeah. I think too. Like, there would have been an opportunity for them to go in the direction of like a Power Town or like a Pinnacle Collection when it comes to signing legends that WWE don't have. Like your AEW, you could have got them to retail and stuff like that, right? If they had
Yep.
signed some of these lines, I think it would have been a really interesting idea. You don't have to, sign them for anything other than toy deals, really. But imagine if you can go into a store and there's an AEW Abdullah the Butcher, for example. You know what I mean? I think that would have been a really interesting idea, and for them to do something different, capitalize on names that aren't a part of WWE and their legend system. I mean, if you look at about like all of the independent lines and all the legends that are out there, that have been, you think they would have jumped on something like that.
Yeah.
I think too, like, for my own personal collection, like Japanese legends and stuff like that, and especially when you consider AEW's history of like recognizing Japan and other promotions. Like if they had a Inoki instead of Latuni, it would have been pretty cool. So yeah, I think there's a really good opportunity for them to do stuff with classic superstars and legends. So I do hope that's the thing. Again, I have got no chance of getting them at retail now. It's like none. So I would have to look online for them, but I never usually look online for AEW figures. I'm just like not that interested. Like I only own two, which is Owen Hart and the Mexico Jericho. But if like they released a bunch of legends that I was interested in, like I would probably go out of my way to get them, depending on who it is, as opposed to just like pretty much ignoring everything that they do right now. Figure wise anyway.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned finding things at retail
Hmm.
because one of the rumors I had heard was that perhaps Jazzwares is going to move to more of an online only distribution for figures.
Well, I think that makes sense too because like the AEW figures, they were shelf warmers here. Um, like you go into a store now and you'll find figures that are years old and they just cannot get rid of them. And they didn't really get anything newer. Like you never see like the more current names on shelves. Um, I don't know how it is in the States, but I imagine it's probably a similar problem where they just aren't moving. So making them online and maybe like a little bit harder for people to find, but like making them, having different legends stuff, make it more worth it, I think would be a smart idea. And also like if they can move them out of retail, but like get them more on platforms like Amazon and stuff like that, I think that's probably a good move.
So here, outside of the exclusives, my local Walmart has the most recent Thunder Rosa, and then they have the first one, which was in one of the upper deck sets.
Right.
The Walmart that's like 15 minutes from where I work still has Unmatched Series 1 Britt Baker, which hit retail in late 2021.
Yeah, we have two Walmarts. One, the last time I went, they didn't have any. And I think the other one had like Jake Hager the last time I saw that I went in there and like Anna J and a few others.
That Dark Order wave died a fucking death at retail.
Yep.
Like, you want to talk something that should have just been a ringside box set?
Hmm.
Like, that's a great example of you really should have just put this one on ringside and let it die there.
I think too with like the deals they have with other promotions, can we get like CMLL figures? Can we get New Japan? That'd be cool.
My understanding is it requires a separate licensing deal.
Right, yeah, I imagine so. Be neat
But,
though.
like, yeah.
You could actually have some Legos that aren't Storm collectibles for once.
Well, that would require like another licensing deal on top of
That's
that
right, because
too.
the anime too, yeah.
Yeah, you'd have to hit up Go Nagai.
Doesn't New
But
Japan own the license to it though?
I think maybe, but I think they still had to go through Go Nagai.
Okay.
Because I want to say on the back of the Liger Figures box, it says something about Dynamic.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, like a classic style line with, God forbid they make the deal with New Japan, then we could get, not that I would be particularly excited, but we could get like Tanahashi, we could get an Okada Omega 2-pack,
Yep.
which I think would be do that as a Supreme 2-pack for the Jazzwares Vault and just fucking rake the money in.
Hmm.
Like, I genuinely think you could do that as a Supreme 2-pack, go all out all out, so to speak. If I could speak English, it'd be great. On like the soft goods for Okada's jacket. Basically, you'd be remaking the Super 7 Okada
Right.
because
Yeah.
that's the gear that he's in. Give him a nicer jacket than the one Super 7 gave him, which is a high bar to clear because it is a very nice jacket on that figure. Give Kenny the you might not be able to do the Terminator like mask that he had, but like you can give him the leather jacket. You have a Fortnite line with a shotgun. Give him the shotgun.
They could get away with that mask because it wasn't, completely Terminator. It wasn't like accurate, really. It was just like a side piece. So I think they could get away with that.
Maybe. I would hope.
Yeah.
Well, like if you go far enough with the detail, you could charge like $90 for that and people would buy it.
Yeah.
I would.
Also,
And
like,
like,
but in regards to classic superstars too, like, can we get like Dean Malenko? Like, if you're not making WCW, you could at least make an ECW Dean Malenko for just like generic trunks.
yeah.
Trying to think else. What else can they do with people that they have
Well,
signed? And
you know what? Dustin Rhodes worked a dome show.
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Put out a Dustin Rhodes.
Do you think they'd be
Obviously,
brazen enough to do like a WCW Paul White?
I mean, they
That'd be
wanted
fun.
to do Captain Insano, if you remember
Yeah,
the leaked
that's
lineup.
right. Yeah.
But I think like Tony Khan went and actually got that trademark for Big Show.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yeah,
know that
'cause
like they did announce like a Captain Insano chase that was based on like when he was in the acclaimed music video or whatever.
that's right. Yeah.
But then he got shuffled right the hell out of that lineup. That line is so weird. Also, I had a thought about this with moving to online retail distribution or online distribution rather. You don't have to worry about balancing your lineups for retail anymore. So
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the quote unquote proven sellers don't actually fucking not that they've made a new one of him in a minute, but like you don't need to put Jericho or Moxley in every other wave like it seemed like they were doing for a long time.
Hmm.
And also, if you're going to be rolling out the classics line, you could just put whoever you're going to have in that classics subsection or whatever in that slot anyway, because there's a higher degree of likelihood at this point that if you're targeting collectors, Dean Malenko getting his first modern style figure in a decade would like move more units than the 400th Jazzwares Chris Jericho or John Moxley.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I mean, again, to your point, like they have the deal with CMLL. I can't imagine Jazzwares, and also it was said that like we're lucky that Jeremy's at Jazzwares and really pushing for AEW. And how hard is he pushing? Like it would be super interesting if he was able to secure licensing deals with CMLL and New Japan because the having the ability to get a Blue Panther figure that's not like the really fucking hilarious Kellyanne AAA one would be amazing. Like Blue Panther would be a day one pre-order regardless of the state of my bank account at that given moment.
Yeah. There's a lot of cool
And I
things you can do.
Inoki, also to your point, would be I would do a whole wave of him, but like I'll take one. And obviously, like his grandsons are at Wrestle Dream every year. They're probably not going to drop that show from the schedule.
Mm-hmm.
So like, do an Inoki and maybe do like a limited edition one for people in the building.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
And for that, I wouldn't go as far as they do with some of the exclusives where it's like a complete, well, also with Inoki, what is a completely different deco? But like, do like regular retail one with like a robe and a towel, like red, and then do like the Wrestle Dream one, different robe, different towel.
Yeah, makes sense.
Do Homeless Inoki as a ringside exclusive. It's a lot of meat on the bone.
Can
You
we
could
have
also
one
do
of them
like
parachuting into the Olympic Stadium?
that would be dope. Like you could also like you would get so much mileage out of a unique body for him too, because like his body style is not that different from Shibata.
Right.
So you wouldn't have to recycle. Like I can already see them using like the fucking generic like Young Bucks body if they ever do Shibata or like the Omega torso. And neither of those really work. But if you tool a new body for Inoki, you have the body for Shibata. And
Yeah.
also you could do two different, like you could do young Inoki and old man Inoki heads too, because his body doesn't really change all that much.
No, and there's other ones you could do. Like Minoru Suzuki's worked for AEW a bunch. He's another one. You brought up
Yeah.
Tanahashi. Yep, he's kind of an obvious one.
Tanahashi would be a great reuse of the Omega torso, especially if
Yeah,
you're doing like 2012.
I mean,
And
obviously, if you're
also like
doing CMLL, Mystical is like couldn't be more obvious.
yeah, like that's if you're able to do CMLL, I wish you know what, if you're doing Lucha Legends, hit up Mass Republic. I want Perito and Mystico in a 2-pack.
You saw his
That
entrance, right? I mean, you watched Grand Slam.
oh I did, yeah. No, that crowd that was fucking crazy.
Yeah, that was
Um
awesome.
I saw Bix posted a Reddit quote on Blue Sky where like it's one thing that they told me how big of a deal Mystico was, but to actually see it, like holy shit.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, there's a whole generation of fans that just thinks of him as fucking Sin Cara.
I
And
what I really liked about his entrance too is that MGF referenced Sin Cara like a few weeks ago, and he came out and he wasn't wearing an actual Sin Cara mask, but it was the colors, it was the gold and blue. So I saw people talking about like the reference of him like pulling the mask off, and it's like this isn't Americanized. This is the real Mystico. I think the only thing that would have made that more perfect if he actually threw the mask at MGF, but like the shedding of the American portrayal of him and opinion into the actual version, I think was just super cool. And
yeah,
god damn, that was a great show.
yeah, that was they had a pretty solid run of TV recently, and that
Yeah.
was for all the talk recently about the stamp of authenticity on Lucha Libre and all of this. They went to Arena Mexico and they didn't piss all over Lucha Libre.
Oh no, like because I didn't think there'd be any intention of that. I mean, they're partners with them, right? They're not trying to take over at all. Um, and yeah, it was an authentic Arena Mexico show. It was kind of perfect. The only things I could have done without was like Briscoe and Okada, and there was another match that I can't remember. And I was like, I don't know if the show needs this match, but I thought everything else was really good.
I liked Briscoe versus Okada, but like, yeah, yeah, that Okada phoned it the fuck in.
Yeah.
But I loved that show. I saw most of the Tuesday show and thought that was pretty wonderful too.
Hmm.
Um, Mascara Dorada and Bandito was excellent. I will say though, uh, I the Red Velvet match on the Friday show was awful,
That's a shame,
but
but
there was one there was one bump. So like, do you remember when Seth Rollins buckle bombed Finn Balor into the guardrail and fucked him up?
yeah.
So they did that spot where Red Velvet took the power bomb, but I think if you had to ask her, she probably would have preferred the way Finn Balor took that. Because like she got like run over and like basically like her lower back, it looked like landed on the guardrail and she just kind of fell over into the crowd. And I was like, God damn,
Oof,
the
God.
opener. Yeah, that did not look fun. Um, Also, like her theme song sucks, but that's not her fault.
I heard La Catalina and Mercedes was pretty good.
I haven't finished the Friday show, but yeah, I heard that was good. I heard the main event was electric.
Catalina had like quite a story because if you remember, she got released during the pandemic and her visa expired and she literally had to like sell everything and leave
Mm.
like the US as soon as possible, which is pretty goddamn crazy.
I forgot that was her until I saw some. I think Bix might have been the one that mentioned that on Blue Sky.
Yeah, they brought her up on TV and they put her with like they put her on a mask and they put her with Sin Cara. Like had no plans, didn't do anything with her, and then sent her back down to NXT and then released her.
They're they're not a good company.
No,
I
they are
remember
not.
yesterday Bix posted the stuff. Do you remember when Claudio Castagnoli got signed in '06?
Hmm.
And then like all of a sudden he was like, "Oh guys, I'm not going anywhere." And weirdly, the newsletter started putting out shit that he did like immigration fraud because that was the story WWE gave.
Huh?
Yeah, they fucking Brian Alvarez was one of the people that was reporting it, and I guess Claudio at one of the Bix posted this at one of the FSM shows, which they only ran two of them in '07. Claudio showed Brian Alvarez his papers and was like, "I don't know why you're saying this. Here's my fucking documentation."
Weird.
And this did not, it should be noted, did not stop them from re-signing him in 2011.
No.
And then one I didn't remember was, I guess they went to the sheets and implied Mike Bennett was fucking faking his painkiller addiction for attention.
Okay.
Garbage company.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think there'll be some empty slots going into that Night of Champions show? Card subject to
No,
change? No?
I'm so curious to see how that whole thing shakes out.
Yeah, I did find it was funny that I saw Cena's little pipe bomb thing, but it was also like the image of CM Punk lying there and the Slim Jim logo on the table right above his head was just like very, yeah, that's WWE, you know what I mean? It's like just the logos everywhere and stuff. Like you consider the old pipe bomb and like Cena just lying there, and it felt like a lot more natural as opposed to this. It's like, yeah, there's CM Punk lying with a Slim Jim logo over his head, and he's supposed to be knocked out. It's just like it was so ridiculous. I was like, the minute I saw that, the second I saw that picture, it's like, you expect me to take any of this seriously? Like, fuck off.
I heard about it. I didn't like see any of it.
He like, I don't even know why he mentioned these names. Although he mentioned Matt Cardona, Nick Nemeth, and people seem to think that was mentioning the Bucks without mentioning them because Nick and Matt. And then he mentioned Claudio Castagnoli, which people think was like, you know, supposed to reference Colt Cabana. Also, like Claudio's like a training part of Cena too, although he was. Um, Although it was kind of funny that he was the only AEW guy that's been mentioned on their TV. I think since well, other than Jericho, I think Jericho did the Austin podcast, right? But
Yeah, he did. Hey, Cole Cabana, how you doing? That's what that's referenced to.
yeah,
Um, I have so many. I think I aired them the last time we spoke, but like I've seen so much in Discord groups and stuff like, Cena's such a heel. He's making Punk go to Saudi Arabia. No, let's be perfectly clear about this. CM Punk is going to Saudi Arabia because he wants to. Dave Meltzer noted if he didn't want to go, he would not have to fucking go. And
that's
can
isn't
I
that?
just say,
Oh,
go
sorry,
on.
go ahead. No, I was just gonna say, isn't that the storyline that like Cena baited him in going to Saudi Arabia? That's so stupid.
Like, it doesn't make anybody look good because Cena didn't want to go to Saudi in 2018, if you recall.
Yeah, it's also
So,
really,
like,
really dumb. If like you have to bait someone into going to another country to wrestle, maybe you shouldn't be going there to begin with.
maybe CM Punk being the paragon of virtue that he presents himself as being, maybe he could have went to management and said, "No, we're going to do this here in America because I'm not going over there because Saudi Arabia is a fucked up place."
But also, if you're
But,
like, if you're Saudi Arabia and you're watching WWE TV and they're like, wait a minute, he's baiting him into coming here. Why? Like, why? Like, you know what I mean?
yeah.
It's so stupid. It doesn't make any sense. You think he's like inviting him to hell or something? You won't follow me to the
Well,
depths of hell. Yeah, I will.
it's very funny to watch the Punk fans going through the grief cycle of like, well, because one of my friends pointed out, like, there were people that are like, well, if he doesn't go, it could fuck with him long term. He's almost 50. How much longer is he going to be around? What does it matter? This was you know what? I hate to put it this way. I really do. What are the odds he did the shirt with the donations to the Trevor Project because of all the turmoil with the obvious religious fundamentalists that were on the other side of the brawl out thing from him?
I mean, I hope
Or at
that's not
least
the
that
case.
was, I would hope that's not the case. But there was someone that mentioned to me, like, you look back, a lot of like that kind of stuff with Punk, like, weirdly is a lot more upfront around the whole issue. And that's probably just a timing thing because he did get injured.
Yeah.
But like, if it's not, like, God, that's so fucking slimy.
Yeah, I mean,
But it is,
I don't really want to
yeah.
question something like that.
I don't think so, but the timing got pointed out to me and I was like, I don't want to give Punk the benefit of the doubt about anything at this point, but like, he would have done a Pride shirt if he would have actually been around for like, he's literally only on the first show of June in 2022, like the first two. Like, it is what it is. But it's very telling that somebody that allegedly has as strong of convictions as he does is willing to just go, oh, no, I'll go to Saudi.
Yeah, I mean, what he said in AEW and what he does now for WWE is two complete opposites, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think maybe this is the case where he saw like, this is my final bridge and this is the biggest bridge, so I'm gonna do everything in my power not to burn it, and I want to be here when I'm no longer in the ring. I think that he's pretty much said that, right? Like he wants to be involved in NXT in some capacity. So I don't think he's as strong-willed as he was before because this is kind of all he's got left. Or the only thing that's acceptable for him. Like you're not going to see him go to like a TNA or somebody else or like an MLW or something like that or Japan if WWE didn't work out in the end. This is it.
Well, where would he go in Japan? New Japan's not going to take him.
Oh no, that's what I mean. Like even if they would, like I don't think I don't necessarily think it'd be something that he would want to do. I think he's quite happy, just staying in the US and traveling with the biggest promotion in the world. I think anything else he might view as like, I don't want to waste my time doing that. I think with AEW, there's an owner of a hell of a lot of money who is willing to spend a lot of money and try and compete with WWE, and I think that's what attract him there. But anything else, I just don't think he's going to be interested in.
Agreed. And also, we talked about this when he came back to WWE. That return promo, and I said this at the time, I think, it was the first time I watched a CM Punk interview and I didn't believe a fucking word that he was saying. And I could also tell he didn't either.
Yeah, very much so.
And that's been a lot of his stuff in WWE that I've seen. And like, I like the "listen up, Dwayne, you bald fraud" promo from right after the Elimination Chamber. That's like the first time in a promo since he came back it felt like the old CM Punk.
Mm-hmm.
But like, brother, there's no juice there anymore. Whatever juice he had left like 90% of it got used up in that Hell in a Cell with Drew, and the other 10 was like him trying to have like a classic cage match with Seth Rollins.
Yeah, I
And I
mean,
do think that match was very good.
he's not CM Punk now. He's essentially someone playing the CM Punk character.
Agreed. Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And it sucks because for the longest time, his biggest strength to me was the authenticity, or at least the ability to perceive authenticity.
Right. Yeah.
And once you take that away from CM Punk, because I think to an extent that was what separated him from like the rest of the guys of that independent crop was like I believed in Samoa Joe and Bryan Danielson and all of those guys. Punk was different because he seemed like just a dude that had a gimmick name, but everything else was sincere. Everybody
Mhm.
else was like just kind of a pro wrestler in the traditional sense. And that's what helped with him maybe not being as good of a worker as, I mean, 99% of wrestlers are not as good as Danielson or Joe or AJ, especially in that era. But like, that's what kind of bridged the gap for me with him and everybody else is like, he's obviously not as good as Danielson, but I believe everything the guy's doing, and I don't believe anything that he says or does now.
Yeah.
So
There was
like, what's
also at that point too. There was like a hunger to him as well. Like
yeah?
he was young and pissed, and he was mad at the world essentially. But now he's a millionaire. He doesn't need to be angry at anyone anymore, especially after coming out of AEW. I mean, he really shouldn't be. What else do you have? It's just
Do you think they're gonna do a work brawl out?
um, I don't think so, but I wouldn't put it past them either.
I saw some speculation about it on Blue Sky, and someone was like, if they do it, that is a clear signal that the tides have fucking turned. And I
I
was
mean,
like, yeah, it would be. Because think about it. The discourse about the two promotions right now, it's not a lot of positivity about WWE's product.
no,
A lot of people post WrestleMania, and I know we talked about this the last couple shows, but a lot of people after WrestleMania don't have a lot of good things to say about the WWE product. But in the last like 3 months, there's been a pretty major shift in how people discuss the AEW television shows and the pay-per-views. It also probably helps that Revolution was better than any show WWE's done in fucking years.
right.
And like Double or Nothing was a really great show too. Dynasty, I went to bed early and didn't feel like I missed anything. Um, but their television has been really great. Like the 2 4-hour shows recently were both tremendous, like blocks of television. Grand Slam was great. Collision last night was a lot of fun. And you can tell it bothers Triple H because look at the vitriol anytime Triple H or Nick Khan have anything to even remotely, vaguely mention AEW.
That's going
They
to be
don't
every
like,
WrestleMania season.
yeah, and probably also SummerSlam. And
Yep.
honestly, probably going into Saturday night's main event in July. And also, this is one of those I'd like to give them the benefit of the doubt, except it's Paul Levesque, and I'm never going to. Booking a Jewish guy to lose to an Austrian in his final match, given everything going on in the political climate right now, that's a fucking decision you could make. And this isn't even like the I don't want to speculate on that, like the Punk stuff from a few minutes ago. That's pretty overt. Like, you don't have to dig too deep on this one.
Do you
But
think Goldberg just didn't realize that?
uh, I mean, I'd like to think he saw the name Gunther and was like, hold on a second now.
Honestly, it's not
But
something I've even thought about. But then again, it's not like I've been thinking about that much anyway.
I'll say this, though, shout outs to Goldberg. He was one of my absolute favorite wrestlers when I was a kid. I wish if they were going to have him retire in Atlanta, they A, could have run the Georgia Dome, and B, could have done it on July 6th
Yeah,
because that would
that'd
be
be
the
cool.
27th anniversary.
it's so funny, like how the perspective of Goldberg and WWE changed. You know, you think about how they brought him in originally and
They shit
had
on
him
him.
lose that fucking elimination chamber, which he without a doubt should have won. And
Yeah, that's the one
the
thing wrong with that match.
yeah, and just the bullshit feud of Triple H, and he was gone. Uh, not long after we came in, really. And then you take a
Yeah,
look at
about
it
a
through the
year.
years. Yeah, and then through the years, he's like comes in, beats people, leaves, beats people again, and it's just like looking back at like 2003, you couldn't imagine that he would have been portrayed like that anytime, in the future. It's crazy. It makes you think of like, what if Sting went back to WWE? Would they give him the same treatment as they did? Like when they brought him in, and excuse me, and they had him lose to Triple H. If they brought him back later, would they have been more respectful to him?
No,
Yeah, probably not. It makes me wonder too if it's like a test, like, oh, you did what we told you, so now we're going to show you more respect at a later time.
you know what a lot of the '03 stuff was? The roster bitch because Goldberg signed a big money deal and didn't have to work like house shows.
Because he was a star. What do you
And
expect?
also, why are you mad at Bill? If you
Not
got
his
offered
fault.
that same contract, you'd fucking take it.
Absolutely.
Don't be a fucking mark.
It was
It
pretty
was
cool.
interesting though. Oh, go on.
It was pretty cool that he was working like Old Japan and Hustle at the same time.
Yeah, yeah.
It was
The Now
interesting.
Yogawa match. When I found out that shit happened, I was like, hold on. I'm sorry. What? They put Goldberg versus who?
Yeah, and all those like animations or all those moves from Kojima and Taue made it into Kea, sorry, Taue, no, Jesus. Kojima and Kea, all those animations made it into Here Comes the Pain, which was really cool.
I fucking wish Goldberg worked Towie. It
That would have
was
been
fascinating
interesting.
though. Yeah, he's like the only guy I know I'd really want to see. Like, nah, that's a lie. Goldberg and Morishima would have been fucking
Goldberg
ridiculous.
and Kawada would have been something.
What? That was supposed to happen, wasn't it?
In Hustle?
Yeah, because that's Goldberg got hurt or whatever the fuck, and then that's why Foley came over.
Oh god, I didn't know that. That would have been crazy.
Now, '04 Goldberg versus '04 Kawada is not the version of that match I would have liked to have seen,
No,
but
but it was still been something.
yeah, it's interesting though because when they bring Bill back in 2016, they say Bill like I fucking know him. I don't, fortunately. Um, Everybody was like, "Oh, the Brock match sucked in '04," but also like neither of those guys cared, and the crowd also decided they didn't care. So why even fucking bother at that point? That match is also not that bad. It's
Also,
bad, but like,
they were doing something completely different as well.
yeah. And so
Like,
like I remember catching a feed of dubious legality for that show. And I was like, I'm so curious. Shoves him, spear, back up, spear, jackhammer. And I was like, there's no fucking way that's it. And then when it was over, I was like, no, goddamn, that's exactly what it fucking should have been.
yeah, it kind of ruled.
And then like they did the 5 minute monster movie at Mania, and I was like,
Yeah, I was
like
there.
I I wish I was because that match was awesome. The rest of the show I've never seen, but I've seen that match. I I had a friend who was like, "Oh, you're still not watching Mania, right?" And I was like, I'm not watching. Why? What's going on?" He's like, "You're gonna need to find a way to watch Goldberg versus Brock." And like when he messaged me that, like 10 other people were like, "Did you fucking see this shit?" And I was like, "No, why?" And they're like, "They just had your fucking match of the year. You need to see this."
Yeah.
And I watched it. And like, there's nothing. That match is just me with my Goldberg and Lesnar figures when I was like 12, like just finishers. That's all it is, and it rocked.
Yeah.
And like they kind of just used Goldberg after that point. Like he would come in, he would kill somebody, he'd go away. He would come in, have a match with Undertaker in Saudi Arabia. It sucked. It wasn't Goldberg's fault, but Taker blames Goldberg for it. And then they did the thing where like he beat the Fiend and everybody was mad. And I watched that match and I was laughing so fucking
Oh, I had
hard.
the same reaction. I literally had that reaction. I was like, this is hilarious. I hate this Fiend character. I'm glad. And I tweeted out something and people got so mad at me. And it was great.
I I remember I had like some insane tweet where I just posted a picture of the Fiend and I was like, imagine thinking you can defeat this. And there's something about like consuming all the Fago in Detroit and something about him being the Juggalo Undertaker. And that tweet did numbers, and I'm so mad that I don't have a screenshot of it. Um, but I remember like I pulled that up on the TV in the living room and I was like, Mom, you got to see this. It's Goldberg. He's wrestling this fucking asshole. And I was like, I'm so curious how this is going to work. And then Bray Wyatt sandbags him on the fucking jackhammer. Like, fuck you. If you're really that mad about it, why didn't you try fighting him for real? That would have been fucking funny too.
It was real funny. Like, nothing against Bray Wyatt, obviously, as a person, but like being fed up with that Fiend character at that point, and just being like, and people like still being like really, cringy and about it and shit, and just seeing Goldberg destroy him was hilarious.
None of my criticism of Bray Wyatt ever has been at him as a person.
No.
By all accounts, he was like a fucking great guy. My criticism is he was a fucking terrible pro wrestler.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
I thought like the Fiend as an idea when it first started was interesting with like the Mr. Rogers vignettes, but then when it came to matches, it was just like, oh, here we go.
that was kind of also the problem with him as regular Bray Wyatt too. The bell would ring, and it's like, here we go. He has three good singles matches. They're all with Danielson.
Yeah, at least when the Wyatt family first came up, you had those great matches with like the Shield and stuff, and God, they shouldn't have strayed away from that original idea. Just him being a creepy cult leader, and the home videos or like the cameraman they sent to the Wyatt compound was so good. And of course, it had supernatural shit to it because that's what they do.
The fucking creepy little kid in the cage match with Cena. He should have beat Cena at 30. For fuck's sake.
The whole world. Yeah, that was. Oof.
Yeah, like Cena's cutting a promo and then like a bunch of children just appear.
Yeah.
One, that makes the audience look stupid because they didn't fucking react to it at all.
And remember when Sister Abigail was in the Hell in a Cell with Dean Ambrose? I think it was Ambrose. They had like a hologram with a bunch of smoke.
Remember when they were going to do Sister Abigail versus the Demon?
Oh God, yeah.
And then a bunch of people in WWE got sick. So like we got AJ versus Finn Balor and Kurt Angle in the Shield.
Yeah.
I remember when that got announced, I started laughing, and my mom was like, "What?" I'm like, "Kurt Angle's about to die on the cross trying to have a fucking 2.5-star match this weekend." And then they made that fucking Angle in the Shield figure, and it's like, thanks, man. Can we get like a 2001 Kurt Angle up in this bitch just once? Just one time? Fuck me. Kurt Angle rules. You can say a lot about like he really didn't sell, and as time went on, his matches didn't really make a whole lot of sense. Here's my counterpoint. I don't give a fuck. That's Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
Like, I love the like twice a year debate of Kurt not having any 5-star matches. Like, listen, you can still be one of the greatest wrestlers of all time and not have like a 5-star like match. Like, especially when people tie it so strongly to Dave's 5-star like scale or 5+ star scale. Bryan Danielson, if you go by Dave's scale, did not have a 5-star match until the Kenny Omega match at fucking the first Grand Slam. And I love that match, and that match is great. It's one of the best matches ever broadcast on television in America. I can think of like 7 or 8 matches, and that's on the conservative end. I probably would have thrown the 5 stars at with Bryan before that.
Yeah, I don't give a damn about star ratings. Either I enjoy something or I don't. That's really all I think about.
Yeah, like the people that get really bothered by Dave's rate, I laugh at them. The idea of like it's a 5-star scale, but like I'm gonna hit the fucking 8 key 2 more times. That's hilarious to me. But people take it so seriously, like that Gargano and Cole match he gave like 5.5 or whatever to. Like, oh, this is rated higher than Punk versus Cena for Money in the Bank 2011. You want a hot take? That match isn't 5 stars.
I'll just be like, okay,
It's
and then just
yeah,
switch to Sid chokeslamming Kronos through a table.
yeah. Like
Because that's what I want to see.
my whole thing, if we're gonna like start the discourse about like 5-star matches, you have to have an honest discussion about how there are probably more matches that Dave could have thrown the 5 at in the 90s in the US and he didn't.
Yeah.
Because even the most like cutting edge in ring stuff that was happening here, like there's a Van Dam and Sabu match, Hostile City Showdown 96. I know I've referenced this on the show before. Dave buries that match for having like no psychology or whatever the fuck. But he loves like all of the 90s New Japan Junior stuff, which in terms of the structure of the match, they're not doing anything fucking different.
Mm.
And what RVD and Sabu are doing, that match has Sabu doing the air Sabu into the corner, so jumping off a chair. Van Dam leapfrogs him while he's in midair. The fucking New Japan's doing that. But also, Dave didn't so much like Sabu because his little Canadian crippler buddy bitched and whined about Sabu to the sheets a bunch because he felt threatened. So I just shrugged right there. But yeah, the Dave ratings are so weird. I like reading his thoughts on matches in like the 80s, even though, and even the 90s, even though like it's clear he honestly doesn't have a fucking clue what he's watching. Like, I don't know how you talk to Terry Funk on the phone for hours at a time and you don't actually understand what the fuck a wrestling match is, but
I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, the observers are really good for like historical purpose, and those
yes.
books are excellent to capture all that information.
Oh, the 85 one's coming out soon, apparently.
Yeah. So yeah, all that stuff is great, but it's just I don't really give a shit about anyone's match ratings. It's just like I don't give a damn to give stars to a match. Like I said, I either enjoy something or I don't, and that's basically all there is to it. Like I don't know. I don't view them as movies. I can give a movie a rating, but I don't want to give a wrestling match a rating.
I think the ratings were, and I'm going to say were, a useful tool like 15, 20 years ago. Because if you were discovering wrestling outside of what was on mainstream television, it gave you a place to start.
Right.
Now, the number of 5-star matches in the last decade, I think, actually eclipses the number of 5-star matches in the entire history of the Observer prior to 2015.
100%.
So if you were in the same position I was when I was 13, and you're branching out beyond the stuff that you know, and you're like, well, I only want to see like I want to, not that I only want to see, but I want to start with like what's considered the best. There's like fucking 200 matches or some shit like that, and the majority of them are incredibly fucking forgettable.
Yeah.
Like not to knock Will Ospreay, but like at some point, like you got to admit that some of those matches that got like 5+ for him are just like that's just like a casual fucking Tuesday for him. And
Yeah.
if you're gonna tell me there's 45 5-star matches happening in 1 year, then we have a different viewpoint of what a 5-star match should be. Because as it was originally intended, or at least as I originally took the intention, 5 stars means like this is one of the greatest of all time. That's the distinction between that quarter star between 4 and 3/4. Like this is one of the best matches of the year, and it's almost an all-time classic. 5 would be like this is musty. Not that 4 and 3/4 wouldn't be, but 5 would be like this is musty. This is going to stand the test of time. This is one of the like defining matches of this time period. When you have like 45 of those in 1 year, it says to me, one, it's a marketing tool because it is, and two, that we maybe need to have an honest discussion about the validity of rating matches in this fashion. Because I know that Elliot's Wrestling Twitter page, he has like a list of 800 5-star matches, and like one of them is like I know because I've seen the list because people saved it and sent it to me because they wanted me to get mad about it, and I was just like, whatever, it's his opinion. But like the Costco guy matches are on that list, and like, no, Miz and Snoop Dogg from fucking WrestleMania. No. And that's an account that, like, every time I've seen them on, like, Blue Sky, I typically tend to agree with what they say. It's just a difference in philosophy with whatever I get it if it's like 800 matches you must see. Maybe that's how he's looking at the 5-star rating. But, like, as I knew it and what it traditionally meant to me, like, the majority of the 5-star matches in the last, like, 15 to 20 years, I don't agree with, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think you could shift some of those ratings around to other matches, and it would like fucking Punk and Cena. Like, I get it, historically significant match, big deal, very good match. It's not 5 stars.
No, I
It's
wouldn't
not.
say so either. I mean, you're
And
right.
like,
If it's a 5-star match, it should be something that's an all-time classic, must-see, contender for greatest match of all time. You know,
yes,
and also the idea that you can have like a 5.5 or whatever shit now, just it's just ridiculous. Like, you wouldn't rate a movie past 10. Why are you rating something past 5 stars? It's just crazy to me.
yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it. A 7-star match is objectively a 14 out of 10.
Exactly.
Just
Like,
goddamn,
it's so stupid.
it's very goofy and cartoony, and I just, man, I don't get it.
I get it with movies. Like, I'll be watching. Sometimes when I watch movies, I think of my letterbox, and I'll be watching a movie, and I'll be like, "Yeah, this is like a 7 or whatever." For some reason, I give everything like a 7. It seems, but like, it's just like when I'm watching, it's just like how I feel about it. Like, did I enjoy this or not, and where would I give it? I never do that for wrestling matches. I just watch it at the end. It's like, did you enjoy it or did you not? It's like, I did. Cool.
Yeah, golly gee whiz, man, I don't know. Shout outs to
Listen,
Kurt Angle, though.
we all need to adopt the Brian Pillman scale, which is Brian Pillman from like 90, and then Brian Pillman from like 94, and then Brian Pillman from like 97. That image that was in some magazine. That's like the Game Pro rating. Everything should go by that. You've got Pillman serious, Pillman kind of crazy, and then Pillman full crazy. That's how you rate
And if
everything
it
from now
really
on.
sucks, it's just a picture of Pillman Jr.
Yeah, there you go. That works.
Because I don't like having the idea of 3. Like, it's an odd number. So, like, we have to have one that's, like, really bad. And so I would vote any given picture of Pillman Jr.
Well, if
Because he
it's three,
sucks.
three would to me be like bad, okay, and then good. You know, that's the scale
Yeah.
that I use. There was something really I gave recently. I gave 3 Pillmans, and I don't remember what it was.
Oh, my God. 3 Pillmans, bro.
Yeah, dude, that's how you do things. It makes sense.
No, it does. It does. I think I'll rate things on the Ishii scale.
Oh,
Although
but
every
they
picture of
all
him,
the
he's
same.
making the same face.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he never changes.
I mean, I kind of feel like if I wanted to rate things with like Jun Akiyama, it would be the same way.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, unless you use like a younger picture of him, like a newer, bolder picture of him. What does that mean?
Hmm. Well, Bald Akiyama, I've thought for the last like decade or so is incredibly cursed.
I don't really hear much about him anymore.
Every time I've watched him wrestle in the last few years, he's still like incredibly fucking talented.
It was cool when he showed up in AEW.
Brother, when he worked Brian Danielson, I was over the motherfucking moon. I wanted that match so badly in 2006, and maybe in 2024 it wasn't what it would have been in 2006. I don't give a fuck. The match is amazing. And then I got
Yeah,
Danielson versus Yuji Nagata. That was like another one of those, like when Brian started wearing like the maroon version of Nagata's gear, I was like, can we have that match, please? And we got it, and it was wonderful. That was what was it? That was the match the day of the Rumble last year, right? Because I think Akiyama was a little bit closer to Revolution.
I think so.
Yeah, And then somewhere in there, we got the Shibata match. I think it was a 316 day last year. So, happy 316 day, Steve. Here's two guys that are nothing like you, but they're going to have the match of the decade.
I remember the Suzuki match was cool because it had like a special. The set was different. I think was that match online only?
Yeah, that was a YouTube exclusive. It was like a buy-in for because remember that was the night that like they went head to head like with whatever the fuck on SmackDown, and like Ruby Soho and the Bunny drew like a better demo rating than the Roman and Brock contract signing.
Yeah.
And Dave was like really pissed off about that. You got out your $10 million match couldn't do a better demo rating than Ruby Soho and the frickin' Bunny. And it's like, well, show some respect, Dave. That is the demo goddess. I'm kind of glad that didn't take off because they would have stuck her with Jericho. But yeah, Danielson's AEW run was like amazing. Like just so many great matches, and then there's like that one match with Jericho at All Out, and then there's like the MJF Iron Man match. But it's all good shit otherwise.
Yeah, it was cool that he was in the Arena Mexico and he did that post-show running.
Yeah, and he took a bump, so now like I saw the Fightful Select thing that there are people within AEW that think he's going to have another match. And then also yesterday, it's a perfect coincidence. I buy a Stone Cold figure, and then Fightful Select has a story that like he's telling people he might have one more in him. And I was like, can we get Steve all stem celled up and get him on some fucking, because they're not going to wellness test him. Let's get Steve on some shit so he looks like 98 Steve again.
I saw that the assumption was it would be him and Punk, which I mean makes sense considering they've done stuff in the past, but I don't know.
There was a point where I really wanted to see that match. Like 2011 when it's like, oh, okay, we can get Cena and Rock, and around that same time All Stars comes out with Punk and Austin is like one of the dream matches. They do the Mattel 2-pack. And I remember being like, Steve was in the ring on Tough Enough. Like, he can still like take bumps and shit.
Yeah.
We get this match. And then going into WWE 13, that the fucking sit down with Jim Ross. Holy shit, that was great. And just thinking like, come on, fucking Mania 29. Come on. And then we get Punk and Undertaker, and Rock does another match with Cena, and I was just kind of like, all right, Steve, I guess not. I don't know that I want to see that match now.
I just don't know what else he would do. I mean, for historical significance, like obviously Austin and Cena makes a lot of sense, but like I imagine Austin's, if anything, would be probably coming in at Mania next year. So I'm you know what, I've been trying to think as we talk about it, like the WWE main event scene, and I just can't picture anyone against Austin. Like I don't even remember who's in the main event scene these days. It's like Gunther and
Well, he ain't gonna work Gunther.
No. But that's the only name that I'm thinking of. Like I can't even think of anyone else
Cody.
right now. Cody,
Cody and Austin would have been a huge match if they didn't completely neuter Cody, shoot him in the head, cut his throat, and throw him off a fucking bridge.
Cody would have probably been the best matchup of anyone that I can think of. I'm just trying to think.
We also thought Cody would be like the one guy that could have a good match with Cena, and then he didn't. So
I'm just trying to think of anybody else on the heel side that he could potentially wrestle, and just nobody comes to my mind. Like I don't even know who's in the main event anymore. Like I legit can't think of anyone. God, watch them put him in with like Logan Paul or something.
No, that can't happen. Listen, I don't know that I don't know if I need to see Punk and Steve anymore, but if you're gonna bring him back, it's Punk or nothing.
Yeah, I mean that's essentially what I mean, because I just can't picture anyone else.
Like if Cody wouldn't have been killed off so strongly after Mania or at Mania and afterwards, then like I could see a real compelling argument that you do the biggest draw since Steve versus Steve. But it feels like, and granted, I don't watch the show. I read recaps sometimes. It feels like Cody's basically completely cooled off.
Yeah,
And
that's I got the same impression.
like from what I've read, it really does feel like Cody's O2 Steve Austin now.
Steve Austin against The Miz.
Bleh, no,
Steve
God,
Austin
no.
against Jey Uso.
It's just him, Oos. I mean, goddamn, your daddy ran me over. I'm coming back for
Oh, that's
revenge.
true. Yeah, that makes sense. There's a storyline reason for it.
If Jey Uso dyes his hair blonde, we know the fix is in. In the Fightful Select report, I forgot about this. They approached Austin about headlining Mania against Roman in 2023.
Hmm.
That would have been horrible. That would have been
Oh yeah,
terrible.
sure.
And it's still so weird. That show happens, and then the big merger happened, and like that was one of the like I subscribed to the Print Observer, and I just remember looking at that issue when I got it in hand and going, "This is you know this is like the biggest story in the history of pro wrestling."
Mm-hmm.
And not knowing what all of this was going to entail over the coming years or whatever, and now
Yeah.
it's not entailed anything good.
Nope.
It really hasn't. And like there's like the novelty of like the leader in MMA and the leader in pro wrestling being under the same umbrella. Unfortunately, the UFC for years had been completely masked off in their support of Donald Trump, and now WWE is fully masked off with it too.
I mean, yeah, I'm sure they just followed UFC's lead and was like, well, they're doing it, so we should too. Or why can't we? You know?
Yeah, it sucks. And I say that again, I bought the Ultimate Edition Monday Night War Steve Austin yesterday. So I did give, what is it, like $6 off that figure is going to go to WWE, and probably like maybe $1.75 of it to Steve Austin. Um, that's just me guessing. I don't. Someone at one point actually, I think it might have been through like a court filing or whatever, but somebody looked at the shit and saw like the breakdown, like the percentage WWE actually gets off the figures you buy at like retail stores.
Mm-hmm.
And I just doing the math in my head. I think it's $6 if you buy an Ultimate at their current price. Um, I said it to Wrestling Figure News yesterday. I have zero desire to watch that product or buy tickets or buy the T-shirts, because to buy the T-shirts, you either have to buy them at an event or off the Shop Zone, which it's not even Shop Zone anymore. God, I'm old. And like they make way more money off the shit if you buy it that way than if you just go to Walmart and say like, I'm buy the Stone Cold figure. Like at this point, they're just an action figure IP wing for me. I have zero interest in the games. Like 24 I had fun with for a little bit, turning off stamina and turning on the ramp cam, but like I don't care. Everybody that's going to be in 2K26 that I'd want to play as I've played as in a million fucking video games, I'd rather just play the old games like the one we talked about this week.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, the way I am, I always got caught up in the not hype, but just like the bubble of being consumed by whatever it is, and like Switch 2, did I need to buy that? No, and I did. You know, it was a very quick decision. Uh, did I even need 2K25? I was thinking about not getting it, and I was like, probably should. So right now, do I have any interest in 2K26? No, but when it comes out, I can't see that I won't buy it just because it's the way I am. Um, but when it comes to like buying figures or WWE products or anything, it's just like a small part of it. Does it really matter? You know, it's like also it's wrestling. So this company's been bullshit for years, and I've been giving them money. Like, what difference does it really make? Um, I don't know. With wrestling, it's like if you just want to give your money to good people, it's like your options are very slim. So, you know, yeah, I just
Yeah,
don't
it's
really think about it
it's
too much.
it's weird though, because like it's not so much wanting to support good people. It's this company stands for a lot of shit that I'm very vehemently against.
Hmm.
Like the last several release like waves have featured a lot of like LGBTQ performers, mainly queer women. That
Yeah.
was pointed out on Blue Sky, and like they put Logan Paul on TV. There's like Cody and all those people that were fucking opening up for Trump at the military parade or whatever the fuck. The whole WrestleMania week mask off shit. I feel, don't get me wrong, love Steve Austin. He's also a piece of shit, but love Steve Austin. One of my all-time favorites. Love the action figure. I still felt gross buying it because, like, again, even if it is like $4 or whatever they make, like if that's their cut, that's still $4. It's not going anywhere good. Which is to say, I wish AEW had figures that were, available of people that I wanted to buy, because I would have used some of that finite amount of money that I had access to maybe buy one of those. I also know
Yeah,
that they get a much larger cut of the video games than they do the action figures, and I also don't like
right.
2K as a company. So like that one's like the double whammy of I think this company sucks. I think their licensing partner sucks.
I think
I
too, like
don't.
for me personally, if I was going to think about it too much, I'd probably drive myself crazy. And it, as selfish as it may seem, when it comes to like the products that I buy, it's all about what entertainment I get out of them. So
Right.
like, I just if I think about the bigger picture, like I said, I'd probably just drive myself insane. So I just try not to concern myself with it too much. Now if it was a case where like they were, I don't know how to put it. Like if there was something they were selling and there was a really shitty, horrible person that I really don't like that was involved in the advertising for it or something, like right front and center, I'd probably be like, ah, I don't want anything to do with this. But also, I probably wouldn't want that product anyway, right? But yeah, I don't know. I just like when it comes to like buying something, it's like I like it. That's all there is to it, really. And I know it sounds selfish, but I don't know. It's just the way I am.
No, I get it because that's part of my rationalization for still wanting to buy the WWE figures. It's just it's
Mm.
getting way harder to like swallow and ignore with them.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, especially when it's like out in front and center like that, right? It's like, for example, if let's just say if Rush Collectibles was actually making stuff that looked good and that you wanted to buy, and then all of a sudden they like pushes this Trump figure with the Epstein list in front of your face, you'd be like, "Fuck you! I'm never buying from you again." You know. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's very difficult.
And again, I talked about a Randy Orton figure and a Scott Steiner figure earlier in the show. I know damn well I'm buying them,
Yep.
but I'm also like the number of figures I've bought in the last like year and a half compared to the previous year and a half, like WWE figures, is very minimal by comparison. I suspect I'm gonna start picking and choosing even more carefully at this point because money's tight enough anyway. We're about to be launched headlong into an actual fucking war because you know what was crazy? When I went to bed last night, I saw a lot of stuff about Iran, and I was just like, listen, I'm tired. I don't need to fucking scroll through this at 9 o'clock at night on a Saturday. And I woke up and it was like, oh, Iraq War Part 2. Actually, Part 3. I'm sorry. And
Yeah.
I was just like, yeah, all the shit he's doing is shit that going like bombing another country that did not provoke you without the fucking okay from Congress is shit that at any other point in my life would have gotten somebody run the fuck out of office. And it's not going to.
No,
And
your country's really fucked.
yeah, no, it's horrible. Always has been.
Like, dude, like there's videos every day of like random people getting picked up off the street and put into a back of a van and now bombing another country. It's like you've got a war within the country itself and a war with other countries. It's like watching from the outside in, it's just like, how are they doing this?
Oh, I can imagine. I'll explain to you. We had like one, the election got stolen in the way that they said the 2021 did, except they did it for real in 24. And we've put a mushbrain dipshit in office that thinks he can do whatever the fuck he wants because he's following the playbook of the fucking Heritage Foundation, where they basically like, yeah, you can be the king. And I saw somebody saying it basically they're just gonna fucking use him to get everything they want accomplished, and they're gonna use some bullshit to fuck him out of office and get somebody that they actually want in there. And in this case, I guess it's gonna be the couch fucker.
Yep.
And like I see people like where I work, we sell a lot of American flag themed stuff because the 4th is coming up in what, week and a half?
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks. 2 weeks. And like I'm like for orders I have to or pack, I have to get so much of this stuff. And I'm just like, given the current fucking landscape of this country, I don't think I'd be flying the fucking flag. I don't think I would be wanting any of this fucking merchandise. I'm not proud to be an American.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to talk about it too much because I don't want to bring everyone down, but like, as someone who would go to the States on a yearly basis, I like, I just have no, and like, I'm right close to the States too. Like, it's not far. But like, I have no desire to travel across the border at any time soon.
And for anybody hoping the Democrats figure their shit out between now and the midterms next year, no,
No.
I don't see it happening. And maybe they shouldn't have fucked people over in 2020 with the stimulus checks. Maybe they should have, said like, actually, no, we will try to fucking stop the whole thing going on in Palestine. Maybe Kamala should have said, actually, I'm not going to acquiesce to the fucking requests of Israel and their terrorist organization that they pass off as their military.
Mhm.
But blame those voters in Michigan. Yes, continue doing that. And I saw somebody on Blue Sky like, oh, it's so weird to me that people, given the state of the world, will post about things that made them happy. Motherfucker, I am not going to get on my goddamn phone and doom scroll endlessly. That does nothing.
Yeah, you need those things. You need things to keep you happy in the state. If what is the thing to say? I mean, in state in the world, you need things to distract yourself from the state of the world.
Like if I limited my time on social media only to seeing things that would make me angry, this podcast would end. I would go
Mhm.
on a fucking rampage. Like it doesn't hit my timeline as much anymore on Blue Sky, but like the people, because I muted a lot of these people, the people that only retweet and post about this shit, like, man, I get it. The world's fucked up. I hate the way everything is. My mental state is also not strong enough to sustain a completely relentless assault of this stuff without giving myself a fucking break every now and again. It's why I do this podcast. It's why I play
Yeah.
video games. It's why I had a considerable amount of shit to pick up at the comic shop on Wednesday. It like you need the things that make you happy, because if you don't, you're gonna go fucking nuts.
Yeah.
And if you go fucking nuts, that's what they want. And also, here's another thing. The Doom posting doesn't fucking accomplish anything. It's like the fucking the senators and shit that are on Blue Sky that are like, what Trump is doing is wrong. Okay. Get your colleagues in the fucking Congress to do something about it, maybe? Fight back, maybe?
Yeah, I understand people, venting sometimes because I'm guilty of doing that, but like I've got to bring it back to something I enjoy because as you said, you go crazy if you don't. Um, so speaking of which, I know you're backed up on your comics right now, but Superman Birthright comes out right next week to the or this week to the
Yep.
compact collection. So
And I
I
won't be
got
able to
mine
read it
already.
until next week, sadly.
Yeah. I don't really know a lot about it, but I did order it, so
From people that have read it, apparently it looks like the Superman movie that's coming out takes more from that than it does All Star.
so James Gunn, and I saw in an interview, and I'm not quoting because I don't remember exactly what he said, but he talked about his like influences from All Star, and one thing he brought up was like the 50s style like science fiction and how Lex is portrayed and how Superman is portrayed and stuff like that. But I'm sure Birthright was an influence as well.
Is by Mark Wade. He's pretty good.
Yeah, that movie's coming out soon. I am going to see it a day early on July 10th. Um, took a vacation day off from work to see it. I'm going to the early showing, which is at 2 p.m. Um, and then if I like it, it's hard to imagine that at this point I wouldn't like it. But if I do like it, then the next week, me and my friend are traveling out of the city to see it in IMAX on the 17th. I've never been to IMAX before, so that should be a fun experience.
I haven't either. It's going to depend how my work schedule shakes out because the week that comes out, I don't think I'm going to be working a full 5 days that week. So if they front load my week and they bless me with, like a 4 day weekend or whatever, I could maybe see if my theater's showing it Thursday. I
Yeah,
also like the last time I went to a movie theater, it was me, my cousin, and some other dude for the Iron Claw. I
right.
kind of don't want to be in a theater with people that are on their phones or like actively making noise.
I've been lucky enough where the I've gone to a theater a few times and people have been, annoying as hell and stuff like that, but it doesn't always happen, and the theater experience still means something to me. Like, I still think
Mm.
that there's no better way than to sit in the theater and watch a movie on the big screen. Um, so I still do really enjoy it. I mean, that's obviously how I prefer movies. And this is one that I feel like I just my involvement in DC and my love for DC and stuff like in the start of a new universe, I feel like this is just one that I can't miss. I really wish there was a midnight showing because like the most fun I've ever had was a midnight showing of The Dark Knight. Uh, and that was the time when I didn't realize how big it was going to be. Like I knew it was big, but I just didn't realize until I actually got there. And just to see the whole thing like packed and full out of midnight showing was like incredible. So I wish they still had those, but at least I got to see it a day early.
I remember going to the opening night showing of Freddy versus Jason in '03, and I've never been in a movie theater that packed in my life.
Yeah.
Shout outs to my friend Scott's mom, Linda, rest in peace, for being the one that was like, yeah, I'm giving both these boys permission to go in. And she was like, are you their mother? And she went, yep, both of these are my sons. And I was like, yeah, it's fine. My mom's actually out in the car, but that's okay. we'll,
I remember
we'll
I
live with
remember
it.
me and my friend went to see The Phantom Menace on like a Saturday afternoon or something, and that was jam packed. And this guy sits next to me with a skateboard, and the guy next to him was like, uh, "This is your first time seeing it?" And he's like, "No, it's twice." And it was only been out for like a day or something. I was like, "Holy shit!" Back then, I was like, I had no idea people did that. But yeah, there's plenty of movies now that I've gone to see multiple times.
I uh I think I can actually name to you every movie I've seen in the theater off the top of my head. X-Men, Spider-Man, like Mike, Hulk, except not really. Legally Blonde 2. uh because the goddamn Hulk theater, cinema, whatever the fuck you want to call it, had some roof damage from the tornado. Guess that's '03. I think I went back to the theater, 13 going on 30, because my friend Skylar's mom wouldn't let us go see The Punisher. Spider-Man 2. I don't remember if I went again in '04. '05, I saw Star Wars Episode 3, Fantastic Four, Saw 2. Shout outs to my mom for lying and saying she was my friend Aaron's mom so he could get into. A lot of that going on here. Did I see anything else in '05? No. '06, I saw X-Men The Last Stand. Oh boy. Rocky Balboa. And then I don't think I went to a theater again until It Chapter 1 dropped in 2017. And then I saw Happy Death Day to You with a girl that I was trying to get with. And I really think that I was not dragged to a movie theater to see anything good on that one. And then the Iron Claw. So I haven't been to the theater that much. There's probably one I'm fucking
I've
blanking on right now.
been like a lot, and I was in high school or middle school. Would have been high school. I think me and my friends used to go to the theater like every week because there used to be one just in the town that we lived in, and it was brand new. And it was like split in. There was a movie theater on the other side. There was like a Taco Bell and a bowling alley, and I think like a KFC or something. And it was like really neat, and that closed down quickly. That feels like it was gone not long after. But we used to go and we saw like Blue Streak and me, myself, and Irene, which was something that we probably shouldn't have seen at that age. I think we saw Joe Dirt. We definitely went to see Ready to Rumble when that came out. Me and my friend went to see it twice. Sat in the front row the second time. And we thought it was like the best thing of all time. I've seen like
Ready to Rumble's
Scarface.
amazing.
It is. Uh, I've seen Scarface when they showed like classic movies of Terminator, Terminator 2 in 3D, Terminator 3, Terminator Salvation, Terminator Genesis, Terminator Dark Fate, Logan, the Wolverine, Spider-Man 2, The Amazing Spider-Man, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, like every Spider-Man movie after that, tons of Marvel movies, tons of DC movies, um, Rambo, Rocky Balboa, uh, god damn, like I've seen the hell of a lot of stuff.
Balboa was such a disappointing theater experience. It's also such a disappointing movie in fucking general.
I like that movie a lot.
I know everybody loves the speech he gives the little dumbass from Heroes, but I know I've told the story. I watched the 5 Rocky movies for the first time in my life the summer that movie came out. I went up to Gamerama because my grandma gave me $20 and said, "Go buy yourself something." And I wasn't even planning on going anywhere that day, but she gave me 20, and one of my friends was at my house. Is like, "You want to go rent some games?" I'm like, "I'm going to fucking Gamerama because we're gonna see what that motherfucker has today." And I got the box set. I watched all 5 in one night, and I went and got Rocky Legends for the Xbox, which I don't remember if we covered. I don't think we covered that game on the podcast. We should someday.
No.
Um, it's not good, but it was a game that meant a lot to me when I was a teenager. Um, and so I obsessively played that game because it was actually 360 compatible for some reason. That was one of the chosen few on the 360. And so I was like, and the Jax line had just come out, so I got my Rocky and Apollo figures from Ringside, and I was really excited for that movie. And then I watched it, and it's not a bad movie. I was expecting something as good as like Rocky 3, and like almost nothing is that good.
Right.
And also, I didn't like the Mason the Line Dixon. What a stupid
Come on,
name. I
that's
get it.
hilarious.
I get it, but like I was just like Apollo Creed, Clubber Lang, Ivan Drago. This is the best we could do. And then like he fades off at the end, and it's a kind of implied he's dead. But then there's the Creed movies, so he's not dead. And I've only seen Creed 2. That's a good movie.
Yeah. I think recently he was talking about doing a prequel Rocky series, which he always seems to talk about, that and Rambo, because he just can't let them go.
Yeah, Rocky, you a prequel. It's the best.
Adrian, I gotta make some more movies,
You know what I want? I want an Adrian origin story. I don't care that
Yeah,
that doesn't make any sense.
yeah, let's
Just
have like, I don't know, Drago's wife goes back in time to prevent Adrian from being born. I don't know.
I I really like the look of that Hiya Toys Apollo Creed.
Oh
Unfortunately,
yeah,
it's
it's
like
really cool.
$90 before the import fee. So I
Yeah,
will,
too expensive.
yeah, I will enjoy it from afar.
If we can get
Also,
like,
did you see the Oh, go on.
I'm just gonna say, if we get like a Rocky mainstream line again, like we had with Jax, would be really nice.
I loved that line. I did not appreciate it at all when it was current, and I feel very stupid for not appreciating it when it was current.
Yeah, same.
Did you see, by the way, the announcement of the Spider-Man '94 comic?
I did see that. Yeah, I think it's 4 issues, right?
Yeah, why? Why are we doing this?
Yeah, it's a good question. Why not do, a new show?
Well, because it would cannibalize the fucking friendly neighborhood Spider-Man show.
Oh, I
That's the
guess, yeah.
actual reason. That
I forgot
show's
that
apparently
existed.
not bad.
Yeah,
Well,
I
yeah,
heard it's
so did
good.
everybody else.
I heard it was good as well. It's just like, yeah.
I at this point, like, oh, it's gonna tie up the loose ends from the animated series. Like, you're gonna find out what happens to Mary Jane. Motherfucker, she's right there in X-Men '97. We know she's safe. It's
Yeah,
okay.
true.
I don't need this bullshit. Please stop. Please stop trying to make me watch bullshit or read bullshit or just interact with bullshit I don't want to deal with. And I saw that like there's a Venom Black, White, and Blood series coming out, which those are interesting comics because obviously the only colors used are black, white, and red.
Hmm.
And I guess Eric Larson in the second issue is drawing and writing a 10-page story. So like that's kind of cool. I do have the Darth Maul Black, White, and Red like Treasury Edition, like the big trade paperback that they did, and that's a cool book. I got caught up on Eddie Brock Carnage and Amazing Spider-Man, and I don't know what's going on with the Spider-Man editorial office, but they're not shitting the bed as badly as they seemingly were for years before this. Like the new run of Amazing by Joe Kelly has been pretty decent so far. I don't like that the original artist is no longer on the book, and we're getting John Romita Jr. Not a huge fan. Not that there's anything against John Romita Jr., but the art style of Pepe Larraz was very striking and looked really nice, and it didn't so much look like your average Marvel book. But the last issue that John Romita Jr. did, it looks like every other Marvel book, and or it looks like what you would consider like the generic Marvel style to be. And I don't want that for that book. Because to me, the strength of Amazing was everybody thought it was going to suck, and the writing was actually pretty good, and the artwork was unbelievable. And now it's like we have good writing, artwork just really bland and lifeless. The Eddie Brock book's interesting because he's obviously bonded to Carnage, and they wrapped up with what happened to the passengers on the flight that you see in like issue 1 and 2, and they're also setting up some shit with Muse, who people might remember from Daredevil Born Again.
Right.
Um, I don't know how long that book's going to last because Marvel's just kind of unceremoniously canceling a bunch of shit lately, it seems. Like, I think Weapon X-Men got axed at. Okay, so I got issue 5 recently, and my friend Kara said that was the last issue. So, yeah, that got cut at issue 5. And I don't know how much longer the Cable series is going to run, but I've enjoyed that thing the entire time it's been going on. And like Venom, Black, White, and Blood's a 4-issue miniseries, and I'm sure it'll be something I enjoy reading. But they have a lot of real issues going on at Marvel beyond the ones that they're putting out. And I I know I bitch about the Marvel Premiere Collection, like the choice of stories, and I know we're a month away from Comic Con, and we're gonna get if we don't get any more announcements for that, I'm gonna be surprised. But if they're searching for stuff that purely ties into Disney Plus and like the previous like movies that have been released, I man, I have some real big problems with what the X-Men book, because they're probably only gonna announce one. I really don't want it to be some shit like we're not gonna give you we're not gonna give you like Dark Phoenix as a Marvel premiere. We're gonna give you like some bullshit like mid to late 2000s thing because like we can tie it to X-Men Apocalypse. Like there was this one thing that happened and it inspired X-Men Apocalypse, because that's what they're doing with Old Man Logan. Like, oh, it inspired the Logan movie and Wolverine and Deadpool. Well, it didn't really inspire Wolverine and Deadpool so
Yeah.
much. It was the basis for Logan, and then Logan's better than what I remember the comic being. But we're going to see in September when that comes out. I'm ready to read about, incestual fucking psycho hillbilly homicidal Hulk. That's a fucking thing they did in that book. But I keep worrying, like, oh, for Spider-Man, they might do One More Day. I would fucking fight Tom Brevoort and CB Cebulski and David Gabriel in the streets if that happened.
Did you
Fuck that.
did you hear that Punisher's going to be in the Spider-Man movie?
I did. I also actually, I heard they're doing a new Punisher comic series that's going to be Red Band only,
Oh, cool.
and I was a little bit like, oh, I don't know. And I saw Benjamin Percy was writing it, and I was like, oh, that's like one of three people I would have trusted. So hopefully he doesn't fuck it up. I'm curious what they're going to do with Bernthal as Punisher. I really like him as Punisher. Um, I don't know what he's going to do in that Spider-Man movie.
What if Kingpin's going to be in it as well then?
I've been wondering because didn't Vincent D'Onofrio get asked recently about if Kingpin's allowed to appear in movies and it's like a weird rights thing?
Yeah, but I could see them sorting that all out, right? If they really
It would
want it.
be it would be really interesting because he's good as Kingpin. Whenever I read a comic, no matter what era it's from, if Kingpin's in it, that's the voice I hear.
Yeah.
Not like video game Kingpin or cartoon Kingpin. It's him because the way he talks honestly lines up with how I think Kingpin would actually sound.
Mm.
Like kind of the weird like hesitation sort of in the middle of a sentence
Yeah, he's
type
definitely got a
shit.
good voice for it.
Yeah, I just wish he was fatter. I wish we could have got a live action Daredevil movie in the '90s with Kingpin as King Kong Bundy's Kingpin
That would have been something.
because he did that's the most like dead ringer pick you could possibly have.
Yeah, pretty
Oh my
much.
god! I there's a bit I want them to do that they won't do, but I want Bernthal to talk to Spider-Man like he's Daredevil. Just call him Red over and over
Yeah,
again, like he doesn't know.
yeah. I could see that.
And also, like Tom Holland Spider-Man is probably not the version of Spider-Man I'd want to see interacting with John Bernthal Punisher, but fuck are we gonna do at this point?
The rumor is that they're doing more of like a ground level story than,
They
something
should.
that's absolutely. Yeah, I think it's time to get back to, especially where, they're coming up from where like nobody remembers Spider-Man or Peter Parker. I mean, they remember Spider-Man. I can't even remember that. Like I think they do, right? It's Peter Parker that they don't remember.
Yeah, they
Um,
erased. Didn't Doctor Strange do the bullshit where they erased people's memory that Peter was Spider-Man or some shit,
yeah, I think that's what it was.
or their
So like,
general memory of Peter?
yeah, so not knowing, not having any ties with like the bigger picture of it and just doing something, on a smaller scale, I think would be a really interesting idea at this point.
Yeah, I think honestly we need a lot of the Marvel projects to scale down to being street level.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I
Not everything
also
needs to be a big event.
no, but that's also the thing with Marvel is I think with them they had their brains broken on the comics end with big events multiple times, but like in the modern like the last 20 years Civil War convinced them like every year or two you need to get everybody together whether you have a reason to or not, just do a bullshit event.
Mm,
And I think Marvel Studios had their brains broken with Infinity War and Endgame because everything afterwards, none of it's been fucking street level other than Daredevil Born Again, really.
exactly, yeah.
Like WandaVision ended up that had potential, and then they kill the sitcom stuff because it's got to turn into like a big CGI blue screen magic fight. And
Yeah, I kinda hated that show.
I liked I liked the sitcom stuff, and I liked seeing Kat Dennings. That is my opinion of that show. I don't give a fuck about the rest of it, honestly.
Yeah.
And like, oh, we're going trick or treating, so we put on like the comic accurate costumes. Fucking go
Mm.
fuck.
I saw, too recently that, draft for the, Bane and Deathstroke movie on the DC side has been turned in, and that sounds like it could be a hell of a lot of fun.
Maybe I'm skeptical of everything at this point. Like we've talked about it We should probably talk about Warner Brothers, actually,
Oh yeah.
because it ties into it. So, Warner Brothers, for the people that haven't been paying attention, but if you're listening to this podcast, you've probably heard something about this. They spun off the television networks and then everything else into two separate studios. And apparently, Sony has an interest in acquiring these streaming and studios or whatever the fuck it's called um, side of things, which would give Sony the rights to DC and Mortal Kombat, Harry Potter, I think like the film rights or whatever, and Game of Thrones. And previous to that announcement, just the idea that we're gonna use these four IPs as tent poles for video games, and we're gonna put people in charge that were tied to games that had heavy monetization that people hated recently, did not exactly fill me with a ton of optimism. But then you add in the Sony buyout aspect, all of this if it happens, and I don't have a whole lot of fucking faith in anything that would be under that umbrella in terms of like what does DC Studios look like under Sony? I
Would
can't
they
imagine they're just going to let it be what it is now.
would they even get the IPs as part of that? Because there's a difference between like purchasing a studio and straight up buying the IP, right?
Apparently, the idea is they're going to buy the whole fucking studios and streaming end, like everything, just top down.
Hmm. Well,
So
yeah,
like,
I don't want that to happen. I don't want Sony to have all. Yeah, the way that their Spider-Man shit is gone, just as an example, I don't want them knowing anything from DC.
and like, what does that mean for the publishing end of DC? Which is, to be perfectly transparent here, that's the main thing I care about with DC.
I think I said to you, it's like expect things to be like digital only on the PlayStation Store, some shit like that.
I thought you were joking when you said that, but there's a part of me that could see it.
Yeah,
And like, what does DC Studios look like if Sony acquires them? What does this mean for Mortal Kombat? Because that's a franchise that is not, and we can talk about the Mortal Kombat figures in a moment, but Mortal Kombat is not a franchise that is in a particularly good spot in terms of like fan reaction and perception.
right.
Mortal Kombat 1 did a lot of damage. We don't know what this new movie is going to be like in terms of like business and just the perception. The test screening stuff, like some of it skews weirdly positive. Some of it just feels like, okay, I'll see for myself.
I did like that Baraka design that leaked recently.
I don't know. I'm
Apparently, it's
looking
all
forward to
practical
like.
too.
I mean, I like the sound of that more than it being CG. I'll say that.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
interested in seeing it. The trailer comes out next month, so I imagine it'll be attached to Superman, and there'll be a Red Band trailer online.
that was my guess. That or there's going to be something at Comic Con for it.
Yeah,
Probably both. Now that I think about it,
yeah,
but it is like compared to. I mean, Street Fighter's in a really weird spot too because people have turned on Street Fighter 6 again. But like, if you're somebody that just has an interest in both of those franchises, as weird of a spot as Street Fighter's in, it feels like there's way more life to it than Mortal Kombat. Which is funny because Mortal Kombat actually has a movie coming out this year. But like, I see way more enthusiasm of anytime like a render, like a leaked render of a Jada figure hits than I've seen for any of the leaks about the McFarlane stuff. And some of
yeah.
that honestly is just because it's McFarlane making the figures and we all know what they're going to be. If we're just being honest here.
I think
Um,
maybe the Legacy Collection will help bring Mortal Kombat back into the spotlight a bit.
that's my
Um,
hope.
yeah, because obviously some of those games anyway are beloved, but then then it's going to depend on what does everything look like after that? What does another potential game look like, and any other media they release? Obviously, the movie has gotten some positive word, and we'll see how it turns out. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I you know I enjoyed the first movie for what it was, but this one I'm expecting a bit more, just from like the reaction to the test screening and some things that Scoop Us have said and stuff like that. So I mean, we'll see.
Yeah. The note on the McFarlane Mortal Kombat figures is we have a few more leaks. I don't have them in front of me. I'm kind of just pacing through my house right now because I'm tired of sitting. Um, but we know that Raiden and Reptile have also been leaked, which I think Raiden was like the original leak, was he not?
I
On
think
Amazon?
wasn't that like the glow in the dark Raiden? That's really
That's what I'm
like
thinking of.
that was MQ1 though, right?
Yeah, but then nothing ever came of it. And the next we heard about Mortal Kombat was this retailer.
Oh, that figure's out now. That Raiden.
Is it?
Yeah,
Goddamn.
it was on GameStop. I saw it when I was looking for Street Fighter like a few weeks ago.
That's crazy. I had heard nothing about that. Okay.
Yep.
Um, so we're getting two packs, more two packs. One of them is Liu Kang. Is it Liu Kang and Reptile and Scorpion and Raiden? Or did I conflate? Or is it Raiden and Reptile and Scorpion and Liu Kang?
You may be right with what you originally said, although I think Liu Kang and Raiden and Scorpion Reptile makes more sense. But I
It
mean,
does.
they've got Melina and Sub-Zero, so anything is possible.
So we talked about this a bit. Like Sub Zero does have different deco on the arms in the two pack, which I forgot about until you brought it up.
Mhm.
But what's the incentive to buy the regular figures if for the price of the two pack you get the same like swappable parts, but you also get extra like effects pieces? You get the stand with the background, which is going to be cardboard, which is kind of fucking lame, but like it is what it is at this point. Are they going to do like the player two colors? Like, is the Scorpion in the two pack going to have the flaming skull and not like a masked head? Are they going to do like a Mortal Kombat 1 mask for the two packs?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see because you like from the beginning, like you have the opportunity to almost overpopulate your line from the beginning. You know, if you're doing two packs and then singles with the same figure, essentially. Um, as you said, like who would want the single figure if the two pack has like more things added to it? There's got to be something that differentiates the two that would appeal to people, and I don't know what that would be. Like if I'm the way I'm thinking about it is like, why would I get in any of the singles? Like I looked at that Melina and Sub Zero, and it's like I know like the frost arms might not be for everyone, and maybe they just want the regular arms. But like if I'm getting two figures, then I'll just go with the frost arms. I don't really care that much, you know? That I'm fine with that effect. So I don't
Yeah, I
know.
don't really care that it's not accurate at that point.
Yeah,
It's functionally the same figure otherwise, and I think you get like the ice grenade from MK2 with him. So fucking,
yeah.
why would I
Well,
want the regular Sub Zero at that point?
yeah. It's very strange, but we'll see what actually they include of the other two packs. Um, I don't
More
really know right now.
Comic Con. 100%, we're seeing these at Comic
Oh
Con.
yeah, 100%. And I think there's opportunity to at least do variations of like single figures. Like you can do like a Ace clone Sub-Zero, for example. Um, it'll be interesting to see how far they actually go with it, right? Because are you gonna do like have like fatality variations and stuff like that? Like, can I get Liu Kang with an arcade cabinet and stuff like that? You know, that'd be stuff that'd be really cool. But we'll see how the first ones turn out anyway.
And also, like, are we going to get more than Mortal Kombat 2? Because
I hope so.
everything that we've seen so far, like, I saw somebody saying, like, oh, that's Mortal Kombat 1 Scorpion. No, it's not. Look at the mask. It has like the little lines in the mask and shit. Like,
Yeah,
that's Mortal Kombat 2.
yeah.
So, like,
That I talked about it previously, but I want them to just like blow up the whole thing. Like, give me the original movie, give me three, give me one. Um, everything from the 2D era, I'd like be super interested in. But yeah, as you said, it's just been two so far, so now we'll see what's next.
my thing is, I don't want them to do three because I want Storm to do that when Storm inevitably gets the license back.
Yeah, I mean, in a perfect world, we would have like a Storm Arena, you know, figures right now, or Jada. Because I don't necessarily have a problem with McFarlane, like in regards to like the height and stuff, but like when it comes to like flexibility and movement, they're not very good for Mortal Kombat figures. So yeah, someone else having the license would have been a bigger deal, but what are you gonna do? I mean, you get what you
I'll
get.
also say this though: if you're doing figures based on the Mortal Kombat games that did the digitized graphics, then this is
Mhm.
like the biggest cop out I'm ever going to give Todd. The lack
Yeah.
of articulation compared to Storm probably makes a little bit more sense because at this point you're basing you're basing the articulation on like actual human beings
Yeah,
versus
you're right. Yeah.
Street Fighters drawn or whatever. And that's me giving Todd the benefit of the doubt. I hate that he's like, we're putting this out and it's got ultra articulation like the Doomslayer, and it's like ultra articulation if this is 2000 fucking 3, yeah. But like I see like, well, the Mortal Kombat figures are probably going to be $22. So $2 off from Jada and $4 off from Storm Arena. I already see where we're going with this. But they're all we're going to have for at least a few years. So I'll buy what I think looks interesting probably, and then what I don't, I'll just say like, oh, that's not for me.
It would be
But it's
interesting to see how, like, you look at the Jada, for example, Street Fighter figures. Obviously, they're based off the models from the games or like promotional art and stuff like that. How would they actually handle like digitalized actors? What would their likeness look like? Be at the end of the day, we don't really know um, from those type of figures that they've made. So it'd be interesting to see as well.
yeah, because Storm didn't do exact likenesses of like John Turk, or I just blanked
Right.
on who the digitized person was for Liu Kang in Mortal Kombat 3.
I
And I
can't
don't
remember
think
his
they're
name.
Kano's. Kano doesn't look exactly like Rich Divizio either.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's going to be an interesting aspect of the McFarlane figures too. Because if you're doing Mortal Kombat 2, you have to do Carlos as Raiden, you would think.
Yeah. You'd think so. Yeah.
And like, what's Liu Kang going to look like facially? What's Johnny Cage? Is another one that's Carlos's brother. Uh, Daniel Pesina
Yes.
was Johnny Cage. In if they do Mortal Kombat 3, is it going to look like Carrie Hoskins, who condolences to her on the loss of her son?
Oh, I didn't hear that side.
Yeah, I saw a post from her on Instagram about it. It was, yeah, it's very sad. And like, are they just going to do like it's close enough head sculpts for them?
I think so. I think that's what it'll be. I think for people like me and you who recognizes the names and stuff, like that would be a very cool detail and something that you want them to include. But I think in the general scope, they're just like, well, they're taking on to be, well, people know the characters, so the faces don't have to represent those actors.
And here's another question I have: Mortal Kombat Classic. The PS2 games are almost all 2 decades old now. The only one that isn't right now is Armageddon, but that turns 20 next year.
Mhm.
We've never really, I mean, Jazzwares did them in the mid 2000s, but they didn't cover everybody. And also, Mortal Kombat 4 has had like no representation in figure form ever. Are those on the table? They're in the Legacy Collection. At least Mortal Kombat 4 is. And Deadly Alliance by way of the Game Boy Advance version. Like, can we get Mortal Kombat 4 Sub Zero? Can we get original appearance Quan Chi? Is Mythologies on the table?
I think Quan Chi would be on the table just for the fact that he's in the new movie as well. So like they'd be more likely to push that character. Um, but when it comes to some like the lesser known characters between like 4 and Armageddon, they're gonna have a tough time. Um, for better or worse, like they sort of ignore those characters. They're sort of like, let's not recognize them. It feels like a lot of the time. Um, and I think there's like a gap, right? Those games are like well received, like the 3D games on the PS2, but there does seem a gap between like Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 and then the newer games, right? Um, so they do get it ignored a lot of the time. So I don't think we'll be getting like some of the characters from those games, unless maybe they'll do like a Johnny Cage and like a Liu Kang and stuff in those attires. That's possible, I guess. Um, but I do think like Quan Chi is one that we'll probably see. Maybe like Shinnok is a possibility. Um, there was one character from those 3D games that was in the first movie. I forget her name, the vampire lady.
Nitara?
Yeah, and that was weird because like she wasn't really in anything at that point. And then obviously they had her in the MK1, played by Megan Fox, who did a horrible job.
I just I want to see McFarlane take. I know I'm saying this in like really uncertain times. I'd like to see him take more chances. If you're going to do Mortal Kombat, a really cool thing to do would be like a 4-inch line.
Yeah.
Like fuck the page punchers. Take like 70% of the articulation you've got and just shrink that down. And I would, regardless if I was interested in every figure or not, I'd probably buy all of them. Like I miss when that form factor wasn't just Kenner style figures.
Hmm.
Like I know Hasbro's doing that with Star Wars. I know that Hiya Toys does that for a lot of their lines. I have the '03 Texas Chainsaw Massacre Leatherface. Um, but I want somebody to jump in on that. The fact that Jazzware has never even considered it for AEW is crazy to me. I would have been all about like AEW Build and Brawl when that line first launched. I was hoping for it too. I remember saying that to Magic, like the few times I talked to him, like, I really wish you guys could do this. And he's like, yeah, it would be really cool to bring that back. And, it obviously never happened. And I've been thinking about this a lot lately because one of my friends will just send me eBay pictures of like Jax stuff from the late 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
There was that one point where Jax was like, listen, if you like wrestling and you're any sort of action figure collector, we want your money. Because they did those like 2-inch microaggressions back before microaggression was a word I saw used on Twitter a lot 10 years ago.
Right.
They did the Bill Pearl figures. They did those weird vinyl figures. They had the Ruthless Aggression figures. If you wanted something a little bit more articulated, they had Deluxe Aggression. And Build and Brawl was like downsized Deluxe Aggression. They upsized the Deluxe Aggressions for the maximum aggressions. They had the Ring Giants figures. They were like, listen, if you like McFarlane Sports Picks, here's Unmatched Fury. They had fucking everything. And I just look at that stuff and I was like, if Mattel even tried that now, I would be like gobsmacked. If anybody came out with trying to have that wide of an array of product for any license, not just wrestling, like anything, I would just be like, holy shit. But Toys R Us doesn't exist anymore. So where's it going to go?
Yeah.
I loved that Build and Brawl line. I know I've said that on the show a bunch, but that was my favorite thing Jax ever did because finally I got wrestling figures, like real wrestling figures, released in the US in that scale. I didn't have to import for the $30 that like Great Muda cost from Wrestling Superstore or whatever it was, $25. I could get 3 of those Build and Brawls at Walmart and I would get, the majority of like a little play set for them. I remember using the Hasbro ring for those, and it doesn't quite scale very well, but it was still a pretty decent ring for those figures. And my hands are bigger now than they were when I was 16, so like I couldn't even sit down and dick around with those figures the way I used to if I wanted to. But I look at those, and I didn't like the Deluxe Aggression figures. I didn't like how wide the chests were and how stubby the arms were. For some reason, that's not as much of an issue for me with the Build and Brawls. Like, yes, the legs are still too long, the arms are still a little bit short, but when I see them, I'm like, these are the coolest wrestling figures that have ever been made. I love the Karajo figures. Those are in a lot of ways better, but also the O-ring and the rubber band means they're probably not going to hold up as well over time as the Build and Brawls because Build and
Mm-hmm.
Brawls are just plastic, just straight through. But like when you look at American wrestling figures, and it's so weird because of how shitty the roster of available talent was at that time. You look at that line and it's like, what a cool fucking idea. Why did nobody have this idea sooner? And
Yeah,
why did
I,
we have the idea again?
I think the Jax and then into the Mattel line being the scale that they are, obviously Jazzwares came in and was like, we need to make something of a similar scale. And I think it has ruined the figure business in a way because I do think that there would be an interest in smaller scale figures. And as you said, like the variety is kind of gone. Um, I just think of something like, for example, like the McFarlane Batman 66 line, which is smaller than the original ones, or if you even had something like the size of like a Marvel Legends, which is a bit smaller with more articulation, I think would be really cool. Um, Even if you had something the size of like the ECW figures, just something different. I mean, it's
Yeah.
cool. It's cool to have things that are in scale or similar scale that you can put an AEW figure next to a WWE figure and have them on a shelf or something. But there's nothing wrong with have something smaller. I mean, they're easier to display. They're in some cases they're easier for kids to play with. So to have
Yes.
something like that, I think there's a missed opportunity there for sure.
I just messaged this to somebody that I'm friends with that talks to Jeremy. Somebody needs to get Jeremy on the bandwagon of bringing back the Build and Brawl line.
Yeah, do
Like
it.
the idea of somebody at Jazzware is going, yeah, let's bring back 3 3/4 inch wrestling figures like we did with Halo and whatever other licenses, and then all of a sudden you see a 3 3/4 inch prototype of like Okada.
Mm,
That's a glitch in the matrix right there. That would break my fucking brain. But yeah, I loved that line so much. Those figures were so cool. I still have, like, during the pandemic I bought a ton of them, and I think outside of Kane and Big Show I got all of the ones I wanted when I was a teenager, because I got the Brett, I got the Rock, I got Umaga. That was like the one that haunted me for so long because he was like one of my absolute favorite wrestlers, and that Build and Brawl was the, I want to say he was the first one from Series 3 that sold out on Ringside. So like obviously the secondary market prices for him were a little goofy at one point,
yeah.
but I ended up getting him in 2020. I got Regal, I got Bradshaw, I got Finley. So like, yeah, the UFC ones I wish I had more of. I only have Brock and Randy Couture. They made a Kimbo Slice in that one. I fucking they made who am I missing? George St. Pierre, Kimbo Slice, Tito Ortiz, Chuck Liddell. There's others, but like when I think of that line, like those are the four big ones that immediately pop into my head. Oh, I think they did Rampage. I think they did
Oh,
Anderson
probably.
Silva. They
Yeah.
might have done Rich Franklin. They might have done. They tried some shit with that Jax UFC line. It's just the fan base skews far too old for that to be successful ever. And I mean, McFarlane's learning that lesson now. You look at like some of the Instagram comments on those posts, and it's just, why would I want to buy a fucking doll? Well, it's a statue for one, because Todd doesn't like to cut articulation into his sports figures. And two, this is why we don't get these things,
Mm-hmm.
because it's all the dudes that are terrified to admit they might want to own a fucking action figure or something. It's really silly. But I feel like there was another piece of action figure news we didn't talk about, and it's like actively bugging me. I gotta check
Um,
the Major Pod Instagram to see if
I know. Mitch showed off the Rick Martel again recently, and goddamn, I want that
that's what
figure.
it was.
Yeah, I
Yeah, it's,
I need it.
oh, you know what it was? Because we talked about it a little bit earlier. Uh, there's a Mattel Ultimate Phantom of the Undertaker coming out. I got to rant about this figure real quick. Um, for one, it's the fifth figure of this version of the Undertaker Mattel's done in a decade. That's more figures in 10 years than they did for like 93 Babyface Undertaker, or even like 91 Grey Glove Undertaker. I'm pretty sure. What is their obsession with it? Specifically, it's all lines that Bill fucking has hands on. What is the obsession with this fucking? It was like 3 months. It was like 3 months, and this is like the fucking Mania 6 equivalent for the Undertaker. They just whore this fucking design out, and it's not even like a particularly cool fucking look. And then the third head is unmasked, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing wrong with that. You can have a proper 95, 96 Undertaker, but then they include a removable mask. Why? If you
I don't
put the
know.
fucking mask on him, it's the same goddamn facial expression as like one of the other heads, I'm sure. And like the idea of having the hair down in front of the mask, that's, who gives a shit?
The obsession with that look seems to be a WWE thing because they've put that in games and they've put it in figures, as you just said. It was the retro as well. Um,
Yep.
I think there was
Which is
like
another Bill design line now. I think he's back on the retros.
the like hidden treasures or whatever that show was. I remember the one of the clips I saw was about that mask. So WWE seems to really like it for some reason. Also, that purple glove Undertaker is in one of the menus. There's a picture of him in 2K25, but that purple glove Undertaker is not even in the game. So,
That's funny.
yep.
And then we got the pre-orders for the curtain call wave. Someone pointed this out. That Kevin Nash head fucking sucks, and it doesn't look anything like him. And I was thinking
Maybe it's
about
fake
this.
Diesel.
It could be. But I was thinking about this, and there's like maybe 2-3 good Mattel heads ever for Kevin Nash, and I don't know that I would say they're good for Mattel heads because that's like the one big weak point of this line is some of the head sculpts just really fucking suck.
I did like the outside as one of the bandana.
That one's one of the better ones.
Yeah.
And then like they took one of the Sean heads where he's like making a weird face, and they did the hair piece where like half of his face is covered up, which I don't get why. And then there's like the razor where his hair is all fucking poofy because it's like post match. And here's the thing, and I know I said this when these were revealed, but I'm gonna reiterate it. This is not the significant moment that it like Triple H wants people to think of it as being.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you why it's not. My cousins had friends that had the internet in 1996, and nobody said anything about I'm sure it was on some Google groups or whatever the fuck, but it was not a significant enough moment to where like it created significant online discourse in 96. I didn't know it happened until they showed the clip of it on TV, whenever the fuck that was, and I didn't fully understand what the context of it was anyway, so I was just like, whatever.
Exactly the same. I remember watching it when I was a kid, and they showed it, and I was confused as to why they were together like that, and like it didn't go through my brain at that age of what was actually happening, so it didn't really mean anything.
And like the whole narrative of, well, Triple H got punished. He was the fucking Intercontinental Champion within like 3 months.
Yeah.
He just didn't win the King of the Ring. Oh, golly gee fucking whiz. I love how like Triple H's thing is like, well, if that didn't happen, then Stone Cold wouldn't have become Stone Cold. Fair enough. We wouldn't have had Austin 316. Bret Hart still would have come back in the fall of 1996. And guess who he still would have worked with? That's right, Steve Austin. Because that was the thing. That was Bret's handpicked guy, was he wanted to fucking work with Steve. It would not have mattered. He still would have said, if you put S in front of Hitman, you get my exact opinion of Bret Hart. He still would have said cliches are cliches and an ass whipping is an ass whipping.
You know what the click stuff is? It's just all master I can't even see it. Masturbatory bullshit, as it always is, you know? It's
Yeah.
I'd rather have Triple H in like a hog pen covered in pig shit as a figure than the click.
I'd rather have an Ultimate Edition 2-pack of him and Warrior from Mania 12.
Yes.
And I would prefer if they let me write the copy on the back and it would just be LOL in big letters. Shout outs to Warrior for that one. No, I'm going to take your finish and stand right up. Fuck you. For all the horrible things Ultimate Warrior said and did in his life, there's like that one moment, and it's like, yeah, that's the guy. That's the fucking Warrior. That's obviously not to excuse him being a right wing nut job. But also, one of his daughters posted like some weirdly like left leaning stuff on her Instagram story once, and I was like, oh, so it's not the whole family; it's just the people that hung out with Dana a lot. I guess I don't know. I mean, I guess the kids would have hung out with Dana a lot.
When
so
kids grow up, they start to form their own opinions. So
yeah. Well, hopefully that's the case. I'm not buying any of the Click figures. I'm not buying that Undertaker.
No, I already have the previous one anyway. So
I have the 91 Undertaker, the Gobbledygooker 2-pack one.
Yeah,
that's the only Ultimate Undertaker I need, which is funny because I think I have the 98 one they did too. But it's going to be interesting to see what they show at Comic-Con, because presumably presumably we're going to be seeing the last Target Ultimate for the year,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe the first one for next. Because I'm trying to remember now. The first two Ultimates for this year were Hogan and Shawn, yeah? Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like we knew both of those coming out of Comic-Con. So we'll see at minimum one more Target Ultimate for this year. We'll probably see the last Target Legends wave for this year, unless we already have and I just have Alzheimer's. There's supposed to be some big announcement for the retros at Comic-Con. What that's going to be, who the fuck knows? It's going to be an interesting month because if they really do blow out a bunch of reveals at All In, what does that leave for Comic-Con for Jazzwares? We know that Mabel is supposed to be going up for Zombie Sailor as part of Comic-Con. Is that still happening?
Yeah. We'll see.
There was a big list of leaks for Marvel Legends that I don't know how plausible they are, but they always have a big showing at Comic-Con, so we're probably going to find out what Maximum comes after Hulk. And probably maybe we'll see X-Men 97 Wave 3 because that's been a big thing that people are talking about as launching later this year.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think we're already on the cusp of like Comic-Con season. Like the end of June is next month. This year has both felt like 10 years in one, and it's also flown by.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And like as I look at my calendar, I mean I'm only 2 weeks away from the start of I'm going to be getting a bunch of PTO money, which is nice. Like I think I clocked it and I'm going to be off for like half of July.
Nice.
If I look at my schedule, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, minimum 13 days of July I will not be working. And like 9 of those days, no, 11 of those days, I think I'm being paid for it. So it's going to be interesting. Next time we're probably just going to talk Dave Reckoning because I've been enjoying these games lately. And
Yeah.
I have some takes about the weird fucking story of Dave Reckoning. And also, I forgot, and this is the spoiler for next week, I forgot how much I actually really liked that game despite the roster being devoid of like really anybody I'd want to use.
Yeah, well, I'm sure I'll have some opinions on it because I've talked about previously. I'm not a huge fan of the Day of Reckoning games. Maybe that'll change as I, do a deeper dive into it this week, but we'll see.
Yeah, so until next time,
Just
take
one
care of
more thing.
yourselves. Oh,
Before we go, I'll just say this: today's episode of AEW looks like one that's worth checking out.
oh, I watched it. It's fucking hilarious.
Oh, is it okay? I haven't seen it yet.
And it's on I think it's in the CMLL Informa set too, which is really funny. But yeah, it was great. There's a couple of jokes in there that are funny, and also the finish of it is really good too. And it's just nice to see K Manito and K Malito together. Like
Yeah, I'm gonna check it out in a minute.
Funny. Yeah, it's a very entertaining 11 minutes of internet television entertainment. But yeah, Dave Reckoning next Sunday. Until then, take care of yourselves. Don't get caught in the never-ending storm of depressing bullshit. Fuck the alt-right movement in this country. Fuck the IDF while I'm at it. Free Palestine. Stop trying to start a war in Iran. And if you have any issues with anything I just said, go fuck yourself. See you next week.
One, two, three.